Welcome to self-discoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Building Your Business right here at selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my wonderful guest all the way from the LA, California, USA, no matter where you are in the world, there she is, Lainie Strouse. She is a producer. She has been an actress. She is a strategist. She is here to help people really be everything they want to be in their business, no matter what they're doing. She has helped raise over 40.5 million for charitable causes and has participated in presidential campaigns as well as several congressional campaigns. She is a broad spectrum of entertainment industry. She's an accomplished TV and film producer. She's developed and produced and sold award-winning features like Teacher of the Year and which is on Amazon, folks. You can find it right now. And she has also produced and executive produced Eat, EAT, with Gavin Rossdale and the feature film Abby's Party, scheduled for production, or has it already been in production in August 23. And she has secured funding for projects such as the Whistler Houston biotopic, I Want to Dance with Somebody, the best-selling thriller Ultimate, and the Spinning Gold. So many that she has done here, and that's because she's got a passion for it. She's got a drive for it. She understands what it's all about, but she also understands, more importantly, that if you have a project that's close to your heart that you want to do, first and foremost, you've got to not only have the strategy of how to present it and what it is that you want people to see and share in your passion, but people are going to buy you before they're going to buy from you. So are you authentic? Are you truly being that person? Different hats every time according to what you're doing, but if somebody met you in the street and somebody met you in the boardroom, do they know that they're talking authentically to the same person who's just delivering a different package? So this is something that's really very important, isn't it, Leanna? Because if we don't present ourselves authentically, truly to who we really are, people kind of get a little something at the back of their head. Hang on, I'm not quite sure if this, I don't feel this person. I'm not feeling the authenticity from this person. So they kind of feel that they're being conned or being sold a bill of goods. So it's really, really important that we actually embrace who we are, why, what we're doing. The how comes afterwards. Who is first, isn't it? Welcome to the show, Helen.
Thank you so much. That was a lovely introduction. I feel like I'm done. You did all the heavy lifting for me. Well done, Sarah. You've said everything I need to say in a very succinct way. I think we're good.
Nope. Now we need to know the why behind it, why you have chosen this path, what drives you, and what drives you to help other people follow their path. That's the big one.
Well, life is a journey and it's just been a really interesting path for me. This isn't something I really sought out to do. It's not something as a kid that you say, oh, I'm gonna consult or I'm gonna raise money. It's not like a goal that most children would have. But ultimately, if you are passionate about something and you want to achieve something, almost everything needs funding to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've just learned is, I'm on my path to create my own private, pretty much a studio. So what that means for me is a one-stop shop where people can come to me, bring me a project. I have the funding resources, I have the teams, I have whatever people are necessary to make that thing come to fruition. So that's what's being created right now, and it's been a path over many years of, I'm working in front of the camera, I'm working behind the camera, I'm working with writers, developing a script, making it ready to be sold. But to speak to what you were talking about, ultimately, when someone is funding you, whatever the project is, whether you're raising money for a startup, technology, whether you're raising money in the entertainment industry, any business that you're planning to do, ultimately, if somebody's going to invest money, they have to believe in you.
Yes.
So I see over and over again, and I've talked to brilliant people, I mean, brilliant, amazing people who are so smart and they've created an amazing product, and then they go to get funding and they do one of two things. Either they are very nervous about the presentation, so they struggle to kind of communicate and get the excitement across that they feel, or two, they go in too aggressively or cocky and don't have the humbleness to really answer the questions that the funders have, and they make them sort of feel like, oh, you're stupid if you don't know the answer to that, and they have this
Yeah.
sort of arrogance to them.
I met a few of
So
those.
exactly. So what I help people to do when I'm coaching them on this or helping them to figure out this is how you present your information is, number one, you have to remember they're buying you. You can have the most
Hmm.
amazing
Hmm.
idea in the
Hmm.
world. They have to believe that you are the right person to execute that task, that
Yes.
you are better than anyone else. And I know that there's been this push for diversity, and I've worked with women and people of color as well, and they sort of feel like, well, I'm going to lean into it because they want a woman to be to fund a women's project. And I had to say very honestly, like, that's great if people want to help with diversity, but quite honestly, there's 100, if not thousands, of other people in that category who are equally qualified, if not more so. So do not feel that you have a slam dunk because
Yes.
you are in maybe a smaller category that they are looking to fund. You still have to be someone ultimately that they believe in as the leader of this project, that they know you can do what you say.
Hmm.
And as you were mentioning before, ultimately that is being authentic person,
Yeah.
no matter, you are being you no matter the venue, I
Yeah.
call it. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you are, and that doesn't mean you don't have different parts of yourself that you highlight. Obviously your leadership, if you're hanging out with your friends, you don't need to necessarily be authoritative. You're going to have a drink with your friends, but ultimately your belief systems are the same,
Hmm.
the qualities that you imbibe are the same, your heart, your vision, your mind, your genuine authentic self is the same.
Yeah.
So yes, obviously if you're with your family or your friends, you could be more relaxed and things like that, but I bring humor into both ends of the spectrum.
Hmm.
Like you don't have to be a robot in the business world. People have to want to work with
That
you
role's
ultimately.
been taken, by the way, by AI.
Well said. Well said. Exactly. We have to bring what AI can't bring, which is
Exactly.
humanity.
Exactly. The essence of our heart and soul. Absolutely.
They
Yeah.
haven't figured that one out yet. Like
No.
AI can pump things out quickly, and but even with that, we have to go back and evolve it and make it more human. Usually, um, what AI pumps out does make things, easier. But I also say to people, at what cost?
Yeah.
Like at what cost? I mean, we create these items and these, technology, and I know people always say every time, well, everybody was worried about the new technology, but those were things that were helping to make us healthier, safer. This is something that actually could take away millions of jobs that are white collar jobs,
Hmm.
that are not things that you can typically outsource, but now they can. And those are sales, those are writing, those are things, a lot of these things are quality jobs that
That's what
that
the strike was all about, right? AI not
exactly.
taking over, voiceover not taking over the writing, not taking over the human aspect.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think we've thought this completely through about the consequences long term of what this can do, and the consequences of the millions of jobs that it will take. On one hand, of course, it makes certain things easier, makes certain things cheaper for people. On the other hand, do we really need everything to be kind of microwaved? Is everything need to be done in 30 seconds?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
at what cost? At what
Mm.
cost to our humanity? At what cost to really the millions and millions of creatives and jobs, and I mean even sales,
Yeah.
um, which has been a great opportunity for a lot of people, because it's very result oriented. So if you are just good at sales, it's a great skill to have, and it doesn't matter if you went to college, you didn't go to college, you don't have, it's a soft skill that some people are really excellent at, and is a super valuable skill that really goes across many different types of business, that you can utilize those skills. And the idea that someone can pump out a machine to really do that in an effective manner, is kind of scary.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm on, on the fence with AI. It's like with every tool, it has its benefits.
Of
The thing is
course.
that we have to put in, and this is what the strike was all about, putting
Yeah.
in the clause of how far do you take it? What does it replace?
But
That
that's
people
always the
can't be
challenge.
replaced for. And the like with every tool, it has its benefits, but just because it can, it doesn't mean we should. So it's use it where it can enhance and enable,
Yeah.
but not
Yes.
replace.
Yeah, but unfortunately, this is
Human
how
nature.
human nature. And look, a lot of people are trying to cut costs, or
Mm,
if you're a small business, it could save you quite a bit of money. I recognize its value.
mhm.
I do worry about the extreme nature of where it can be taken and where it's kind of going. Um,
Well, it's scary
yeah.
because somebody put out a pictures the other day of Trump and Biden as best friends around a campfire and everything else, and not a hope in hell that that would ever happen. But
Right.
it used to be a picture could say 1,000 words, and we could rely on the picture. We can't anymore. So
That's also what I'm referring
yeah,
to is the consequences of all
yes,
this deep fake stuff. It's, because we really want to be authentic. We want to know
hmm
what's true, and people need to have facts to make their decision. You don't have to agree.
exactly,
You don't have to agree with everybody, but you want to be basing your opinions on facts.
yeah, and
So,
that's always obviously the problem, and this is where the human element comes in. Right? Is that we are in a world where fake news, fake this, fake that is absolutely evident, and it's even before AI came along. It was happening in a scam city. I did an interview 2, 3 weeks ago with a woman who went on a business trip to Peru, ended up in jail for 4 years, and the entire business, everything,
wow.
an elaborate scam, and uh,
Wow.
and consulate nobody fought for her until a lawyer 4 years later nagged them to death to get her released. Right, so these scams are so utterly sophisticated nowadays that
Uh,
quite honestly, if we are not presenting ourselves where people can feel the essence of who we are, they can feel the heart and soul of who we are, and they can
yeah.
really feel the connection. It doesn't matter what titles or what shiny object you're showing. It's
Yes.
the authenticity of who you really are that they feel I really can connect, communicate, and trust this person. That
Yes.
is, I think, in a lot of ways, all these things that are happening are pushing us back to give each other time to really spend time with people and get to know them from the core level, not just the surface level.
I think that's sort of the most important thing, and a lot of times gets lost with
Yeah.
technology and
Yeah.
convenience. And so when I'm helping people to get in front of a room of funders or venture capitalists or whatever it is, it's really saying, okay, they need to buy you. You have
Yes.
to go in there. Do not apologize for taking their time. Do not apologize for being a woman, a minority, a man, whatever it is that you're bringing to the
Mhm.
table. It
Own
is
it.
not, it doesn't matter.
No.
What you are bringing is your expertise, your knowledge, your unique self,
Yes.
and you have to own that space. And you go
Mhm.
in there with your head held high and your shoulders back, and you own that space.
Yeah.
And you are undeniable. You show what you can bring to the table that no one else can bring to the table. And when you genuinely get to that place, no one can stop you. No
Exactly.
one can stop you,
Mm-mm.
because whether it's this person gets you or that person doesn't get you, the fact of the matter is they will see that you have the value. They
Yeah.
will see that you have the expertise. I'm not suggesting you need to know your stuff.
Yes.
So, people want to tell you, oh, there's these manipulations or techniques to get this or that. The true fact of the matter is you need to know your stuff. Then you have to bring that level of authenticity and knowledge. And so it's a combination of your competency, but you're also bringing an authenticity and a warmth
Yeah.
and a genuineness to the table that no one else can bring.
Exactly.
So that will differentiate you amongst
Hmm.
all the other people.
Yeah.
Because if you go in there with this doubt in yourself
Oh, yeah.
and you shrink yourself and you go
Mm-hmm.
in there with this, oh, they're not going to take me seriously for whatever reason that you've made up in your mind that doesn't exist because they don't know you yet, they're calling you in because they think you have something,
Yes.
right? And then you have to explain to them and show them why you are the answer to their prayers. Those
Mm-hmm.
people want to fund something and make
Yes.
money. So ultimately, again, I've said this to people because I know there's this big push for, and I'm very grateful that there is a push for diversity because we do need different voices and different talents and people to have chances that maybe otherwise wouldn't. But there are a lot of really brilliant, competent people who are of every gender, race,
Yes.
minority.
Don't
So,
rest on
uh,
your laurels just on based
right,
on your
don't just
sex or this
say
or that. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
because I saw a brilliant woman say this to me. She's like, "Well, I'm a woman and they're looking for women-run businesses." And I said, "That's great." I said, "But ultimately, you have to knock their socks off. You have to
Yeah.
walk in there and be like, I am the person who you want to invest in." Because the one thing that is goes across all tides, genders, races is money.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if you're an investor, you honestly, most of the people don't care. And this is why being undeniable is what breaks stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at anyone in history, I don't care, if it was the first woman to do something, the first African American person, the first whatever to do anything, they were undeniable. They were
Yeah.
great. There was no question about their quality,
Right.
whether you loved them or didn't love them. But I always say this too, because people talk about, oh, I strive for perfection and perfect and perfect and perfect. So I literally do not subscribe to the idea that perfection is something we strive for. And the reason why is if you read anybody's biography,
Mm-hmm.
anybody in
Mm-hmm.
history, there is not one person you would describe as perfect. Not one.
I
They
call
have
them
messy private
flawsome.
lives. They have failures, they have
Mm-hmm.
successes, they have lessons, they've had catastrophes and
Yeah.
the love of their life or whatever it is did not work. So what I always say is I strive for greatness. I strive for realness. I strive to
Mm-hmm.
be my best. And I can only do what I can do. So
Yes.
the philosophy, it really, I always say that's such a simple thing to say, but if you really take that in, it is life-changing because it makes you release everyone else, their
Mm-hmm.
behavior,
Mm-hmm.
the weather, the pandemic, the,
Mm-hmm.
strikes, whatever it is, we don't have control
No.
over most things.
Right.
Over most things, we don't have control. So the more that we take ownership of our own self, our own
Mm-hmm.
choices, and if you at the end of the day have done the best you can in all aspects of your life, you can go to bed comfortable knowing you did the best you could. Then that's all you can expect from yourself. And if you
Exactly.
are genuinely doing that each day, you will be moving forward.
Exactly.
You will.
There's a few things I want to address here. One of them is the wonderful 58% when you walk into a room is how you present yourself, right? Are
Absolutely.
you coming in confident, warm, inviting? 37% is your tone of voice. Is it setting the stage for people to listen to you? It's only 7% that content. If they haven't
Yes,
bought that other percentage, they're not even paying attention to the content. They've already got a lot of the content in front of them already. That's the reason why you're in the room, right? They want to know, can they feel you? Can they feel the passion?
exactly.
Are you inviting? Are you adaptable?
Yeah,
Are you general? They want people. Yes, I mean, if you're a neurosurgeon, I want you to be a specialist as a neurosurgeon. I don't want you to be a foot doctor as well, right? But
exactly.
in this business and in many businesses, the more talented we are in our versatility and just like the weather, adaptable to situations. That something comes up, okay, all right, I guess we can't do it that way. Let's look at another way of doing it. And that's what
Yeah,
people want in business because if you
yes,
become rigid, that means like a tree, you're going to break. But if you have flexible branches there, they're just going to
Yeah.
flap with the wind. And that's the important thing in survival of business, in any form of business,
And
that
and
adaptability.
listen to
Yes.
ideas. It doesn't
Mm.
mean you have to take every idea, but the brainstorming process is
Yes.
very helpful and
Yes.
you bounce off each other. And, if you think that you're the only one with the best ideas and you know everything, then you can't evolve, you can't grow. I mean,
No.
recognizing
Join the narcissist club.
we don't know everything, we will
No.
never know everything about anything. And the
But
more you
that's also what
recognize
makes it
that,
exciting.
yeah,
Yeah, getting around a table or getting with a group of people and you've got an idea and they've got an idea and everybody throws their idea on the table and some of them kind of go to the moon and back and they go, God, this is wonderful. Okay, now how do we hone this down? Taking a
yeah,
smidgen of this and a smidgen of that and putting it
yeah.
together. Isn't that exciting and illuminating instead of coming in, it's got to be done this way and I see it that way and you've all got to comply? Why are you asking for their expertise if you're not even going to allow their expertise to come to
I,
the table?
I can guarantee you if, people listening, if they consult or you're hired for your expertise,
Mm,
how often you get hired for your expertise and then the person doesn't take your expertise.
exactly.
It happens
Yes.
all the
Yes.
time. And sometimes I'm like, why are you asking me if you don't want to hear what I have to say?
Uh-huh.
It's like,
Uh-huh.
it's interesting, but I just laugh and I just, and so that's part of that, the communication skills of saying, okay,
Mm,
what is it that you want to achieve? What is the goal that you're trying to achieve? Let's discuss the best way to get what you want and
yeah.
break it down into steps, or, you know, because we have to take our ego out of the
I was
equation
about to say that.
as
Yes.
as much as possible,
Yeah.
because when you have to be focused on the task at hand, again, and this is why I talk about it in terms of business and personal, because I these are techniques that you can use in any conversation. If you're having a discussion with someone in your personal life, whether it's a spouse, a family member, think about what you're hoping the result will be. And
Hmm.
that's the same in business. Like if you go in there and someone says something to you and it makes you angry, and so you lash out defensively, you most likely are not going to get the
Yes.
positive result out of that conversation,
Yeah.
because everybody's a human being. If you feel attacked,
Yes. Shut
that's
down.
when you will either shut down
Hmm.
or attack back, right?
Yeah.
They will lash out back or they will shut down.
Yeah.
So, in order to get the result you want, you have to approach things from a result oriented or conversational
Hmm.
approach. And I take that really with anyone. If someone is upset with me, or if someone's upset with the fact that it's raining and they wanted
Yes.
to have a party outside and there's nothing, you're saying, okay, this is happening. We don't have control over this. What's plan B? What
Exactly.
can we do?
Yeah.
Let's move it inside. Where can we do this? We'll do that. We'll move this here. And you resolve it and you focus on the resolution rather
Hmm.
than, as you mentioned, finger pointing or
Yeah.
blame. It's
Yeah.
about what can we do to solve the issue? And then you can, if you want to reconvene later and discuss, you know, improvement for the future, then fine. But when people feel attacked or
Yes.
blame, they're either going to retract themselves or lash out. And so
Exactly.
and
They're
that's the
unproductive.
natural response.
Yeah. Where is the production in that? Where is the
Exactly.
resolution in that? And I think it's like, yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, you can get, it's raining. No. Okay, folks, what are we going to do?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. And I can yell at the person next to me going, "It's raining," and get mad at them and it's not their fault. And
Exactly.
or we can
Yell at the rain, get it off your chest, all right? Because yes, it's frustrating, all right?
yes.
Okay, you didn't contingents for this. You didn't look at the weather chart, right? Okay, folks, I need ideas. Come on, what are we going to do? And people, just because you might be leading the pack doesn't mean that you have to be all the ideas. A good leader creates other leaders. It
Yes.
allows other people to feel free to go, how about this? How about this? How about that?
And you utilize the expertise.
Exactly.
You want a team who have different skill sets
Yeah.
that supplement yours, and they know things that you don't know, and they're expert in, a lot of people want to be I mean, I know a lot of different things, but if I want a legal document, even though I know some things about
Yes.
law, I am not a lawyer. And if I want a legal document, I go to a lawyer. If I
Exactly.
If I have, a film I need to market, I want to get someone who has expertise in film marketing.
Mhm,
So it's
mhm.
yet like, yes,
It's
along with their
teamwork.
expertise,
Teamwork.
I will have opinions and I
Yeah.
will, be
Yes.
able to work with them. But I trust if that's their expertise, that's why I'm bringing them in because they are the expert in that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to be an expert in everything. I don't want to.
No, it's very
Oh,
hard on the neck to wear all the hats. And you're going to have a wobbly neck, and there's going to be
yes.
hats that don't fit. I know because this is, I'm wearing all of them with this, and
Yes.
I'd love to have a team. But the reason why you have people there is that it's not just their expertise, it's their passion, it's their vision.
Yeah.
They can see
Yeah.
things you can't see because that is where they're wired. Like a
Right.
cinematographer.
Yes.
Why do we see certain directors always using the same cinematographer? Get my word around there. Or the same people, the same team every day because they've got a synergy between them. The cinematographer
Yeah.
knows what the director's trying to get, and they've developed a language of setting the scene, and it's that wonderful discovery at first of that synergy where it works, and then afterwards it's that exploration of every film that they put out there of what else they can see, or maybe they use a different cinematographer because they want a different
Yes.
point of view. But it's
Yes.
it's the respect of
A
everybody
lot
else.
of those are partnerships, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
value in having that
Yes.
shorthand and trust. So
Hmm.
I have a go-to people for a lot of things. And, I enjoy that. It's building that relationship. They trust you, you trust them, you have a shorthand, you know what they need, they know what you need. And it's a great thing because the trust is
Yeah.
amazing.
And you get
Because
each other.
especially,
That they know the reliable. I get you. You know what I
yes.
need. I don't have to give you an encyclopedia of what it is. I
Yeah.
can shorthanded, and that's the reason why people go back to work with the same people over and over again, right?
There's a trust, and it's fantastic. And
Yeah,
especially when I'm the kind of work that I do, if I'm doing something in production on site, it costs a lot of money if somebody doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't do
exactly.
a good job. There's every person on a set, top to bottom, has a purpose for being there, needs to know what they're doing, pulls their weight, and you cannot create that. I mean, look at the list of credits at the end of any TV or
Yes.
film.
Yeah,
I mean, just to give you an idea, everybody has a purpose, and it doesn't matter how small their role
no,
is. If they don't do it well, trust me, if you have a PA and they're not doing a good job, you will be able to tell.
yes,
If you have, I mean, obviously all the way on up to the director, the cinematographer, actors, everybody has to do their job well to
yes,
get the best result. And then at the end, the post, there's a whole nother crew of
yes.
people who need to do, I mean, editing can be life-changing, and I
Yeah,
don't think people realize how unbelievably different of a movie you get with a different editor or different
yeah,
choices made there.
yeah. And
And
how, I
it's
mean, that's the reason
it's
why
super
editing takes
important.
so long. Because they're going over and over and over and again,
Oh,
no, that can get cut off, that'll
I
have more flow. But the
yes,
patience and the persistence and the and
yes,
again looking for that synergy. No, that scene is like taking away from that. And there's again that trust factor with that editor. But it's the way they see it. A director sees it one way, somebody else sees it that way. I
yeah,
call it the orchestra. We each are in discovery of what our instrument is. We learn
yeah,
how to play it, and we could be a soloist. But when we join an orchestra, that orchestra is only as strong as everybody's expertise. And then it's the
absolutely.
conductor that comes in that
Yeah,
brings all those beautiful people together to create that symphony, right?
yeah. And live things too. I mean, I do a lot of, like, I've done award shows and live events and things for nonprofits, and it's having a team of
Yeah,
people that I can bring in that I know are going to have my back, that they're going to do a fantastic job. They're going to be fairly priced,
yeah,
and they know that I bring them a lot of work, so they're not just looking at it as this one shot thing.
yes,
And that we have a relationship, and it really becomes a friendship. And whenever I can bring them into anything, I will, because
yes.
I genuinely like them, and I know that I can say to them, "Hey, can you throw in a couple extra lights in case one doesn't work, or can
Hmm.
you do this and that?" And they know that because just from doing this for so long,
Hmm.
things pop up. And if you don't
Yes,
think ahead to go, okay, well, if one, no matter if you test the lights or the microphone, sometimes things don't work suddenly. And
exactly.
having a backup plan and having people who get that and understand that and know that that's where you are, I have to think of as many scenarios as
Yeah.
I can and try to be prepared for as many as possible. And, that's what the big difference is between someone who is a professional at what they do and someone who is a beginner at what they do.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with being a beginner,
Everybody has
obviously.
to start somewhere.
Everybody has
Yes.
to start
Mhm.
somewhere, but know that and look to learn from others and look
Yes.
to evolve. And I've obviously improved greatly in a lot of the things that I'm doing, and there's still more to be learned. I mean, there's so many different ways of doing things
Yes.
when it comes to funding and different things. I mean, I'm always open to listening and understanding and surrounding myself with people who know more than I do about
Mhm.
different things, and then I learn from them, and it
Well,
really is incredible.
the big thing you cannot buy is a reputation, right?
Yes.
Um, if somebody's had a bad experience, believe me, they're going to talk about it. People have had good experiences, they're going to talk about it, right? The bad one seems to get around faster, right? So one can't afford to have, those type of things. For me, it's one show at a time, and it doesn't
Yeah.
mean every show is perfect, but it builds up over time. And when you get referrals, when you get people talking about you, then
Yeah.
okay, I've got my vibe tribe in the sense that these are the people that I serve. And so
Yeah.
when you keep on persisting and keep doing, you're building up a name in the industry of people who want to work with you because people have talked about the good experience, right?
Yeah.
People that have had good results in what you've produced. I really like her
Yes.
approach on that. I want that from my thing. So it's one step at a time, one project at a time. And
Yes.
but it, the reputation of who you are and
Yes.
what you are putting on the line is each project at a time, isn't it?
And also learning sometimes it's not a good fit, which can be the hardest thing
Yes,
when you have a
yes,
business that sometimes you don't align. I mean,
yeah,
it does happen, and you do your best, but there are times when there's politics and scenarios, and you're
yeah,
sort of painted in this corner because there's, two factions in a company that have differences and they're fighting in the middle, and you're just like, okay,
yeah,
there are times when, you get to a level where you start to go, okay, I really want to work with people who I'm aligned with, that have the right intentions, that treat me with respect. Like, I've never been somebody who needs a whole parade in my honor. Every
right.
time I do something, I have seen people who really need a lot of positive reinforcement. I'm there to
Mhm.
do my job, and I recognize my role as a facilitator and to execute at a really high level. And I don't take it as, it's like I say to people, it's like you don't have a parade every time the hammer hammers in the nail, right? You don't
Yes,
have a, it's like you're there to do a job, you have a role, do your job, do it with a level of respect, responsibility, and excellence that you can be proud of. And then you will get people who appreciate and, want that role. And so, but if you constantly are someone who needs that acceptance and that validation, it's really something to look at within yourself because you probably
yes,
didn't get it somewhere in
yeah,
your childhood or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
And so this is what I'm saying, healing ourselves as a
yes,
whole person will
hmm
benefit us in business and in personal. And
right.
this is people like to go, oh, well, is this related to business or is this related to your
Mhm.
personal life? I said, for me, it's all
Yeah.
intertwined.
Well, I mean, we are our business. I think that's something. It doesn't matter what we're doing. We
Yeah.
are our business. And whatever we are in, we're bringing the business of ourselves into whatever it is we're doing.
Wherever you go, there you are.
There
And
you are.
and I
Exactly.
see people who are super vulnerable in the business world
Hmm.
and make this mistake. And they have the same mistake that they do in their personal life. And
Yes.
I've seen people who do this and they need constant validation, or they need, constant follow up and way too much coddling. And they also need that in their personal life.
Yes.
And it's a vulnerability because they didn't receive that
Yeah.
somewhere. So I have a
Yeah.
lot of sympathy and empathy for people who you can kind of see
Hmm.
their pain in their basic daily life, and they may not realize that they're showing it to you, but if you really take a moment to look at people authentically and say, I really feel for you, I hope that um I hope that you um can find this and heal it, but we have to be aware of our own
Yeah, and
blind spot.
we have to
Yeah.
participate in our own healing because
Yes.
what is ego? Ego very often is insecurity. Now,
Yes.
I say to people, please stand tall in what you do. Stand tall and proud in your own achievements. You have
Yes.
every right to do that because this is what you're working for. You stand tall in who you are, why you are, and what you're doing. But the ego is that I need validation from everybody in doing it. If you can look at yourself in the mirror and go, job well done. I feel good about this one, right?
Yeah.
That is that self-pride. But if you're needing
Yes.
everybody else to pat you on the back, then that needing of that validation is something where you have to question yourself, why do I need this so much? It's very
Yeah.
nice to get recognized and have other
Of
people,
course, it feels
you know,
great, but
but
we
not the
have
need
to
for it.
we have to look at ourselves in the mirror and be proud of who we are as a whole
Yes,
person.
yes,
And healing that, and I know, I mean, every psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist in the world will tell you to look at your childhood
yes,
before we even know what anything is or anything in the world. We're getting messages on how people treat each other. And, people like to think, oh, well, it's this quote pattern and they think it's obvious, but quite often it's not as obvious as you
no, no,
think.
definitely not.
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, things render their way, and the more we can heal ourselves and identify what it is that we are feeling that we need, we're lacking. Self-worth and value is a huge thing that almost everybody needs. I don't know that we're ever completely fix that or solve that. And I mean, people always say, well, if I was this, I would be. I mean, I've seen the most famous supermodels in the world talk about their insecurities
Yes.
and talk about how empty they felt, or
Mm,
Cindy Crawford talking about how they used to spend 3 hours doing her hair and makeup. And she thought, geez, I need so much work and I
I
can't believe
know.
how long it takes.
Yeah.
I mean,
What
if
anti
these
natural
are
beauty?
people, what I'm saying is,
Yes.
these are people that have been held up as these paragons
Yes.
of
Yes.
beauty. And if they cannot feel secure
Right.
and feel full of themselves for their appearance, like, how is the average woman, right? So
Yeah.
we cannot look to others for the validation. We cannot look to, and it's not about your look, or you have value in and of
Yes.
yourself, regardless of what anyone else thinks of you. And we all have to come to this place where it's not that we don't want to look nice. It's not that we
You're
don't want
right.
to
Again,
get the validation,
yeah,
but
self-pride,
everybody needs to find, yeah, we need the self-pride to find the look that suits you. You're
Yes.
not trying to
Represents
copy
you.
somebody else,
Hmm.
that presents you in your best light, that flatters your face, your skin, your figure. It doesn't matter what size you are.
Hmm.
There are clothes and a way of holding yourself where
Yes.
you will look your best. And
And again,
again,
it's
it's
the
not,
essence of you. I mean,
yes,
people may catch the look of you, but
yes,
if you are foreign in the look, then people aren't going to feel you. I mean, really, what people want to do is be
yeah.
able to, the dress may catch the eye, but then the essence of who you are exudes out,
Doesn't
right?
match.
Yeah,
And that's the biggest thing I find. Like, I've had friends who've hired stylists and all this
yeah,
stuff, and they're like, "Oh, we need to get this Midwest out of you, or we need to
yeah.
do this. You need to wear this trend and that trend." I said, "No, you don't need to get rid of any part of yourself." I mean, I started
Enhance
in
it.
fashion. It's about bringing all those pieces
Hmm.
together and wear what flatters your body,
Yeah,
what makes you feel good. And it's not about, like, these trends are so that you will buy more clothes. But
exactly.
ultimately, building a wardrobe, and this might sound totally separate, but when you walk into a business meeting, as you mentioned, people make a decision about you in
Hmm.
30 seconds.
Yes,
So what you choose to wear does matter.
yes.
And it doesn't, and
How you
you,
carry yourself.
how you carry
Do you look
yourself.
confident in what you're wearing, or do
Yes.
you're a
And is
jeans
it
and
honestly
t-shirts and an Armani
comfortable?
suit? It doesn't
Yeah,
fit. You
and
know?
exactly. You can have the most expensive clothes, but if
Hmm.
they don't suit you, and if they're
Yeah.
too tight or too big, or
Or you
or
can't
they're
carry it.
fitting, exactly. and finding out, you know which colors are
Yes.
really flatter you. And you can very rarely go wrong with blue. I mean, if
Hmm.
you don't know, you can very rarely go wrong with a blue. Yeah, like a navy blue or, different shades of blue. Nobody looks bad in blue.
Hmm.
But it is finding those little things, and that does give you a certain confidence and a certain backbone. Because when you walk in, if you have yourself well put together,
Hmm.
and it's not about, oh, I'm going to look like this celebrity or that
Yes. No,
model
no, no,
or
no.
this or that.
They're already
It's about,
taken.
I'm going
Hmm.
to be professional. And usually simpler is better.
Hmm.
Simple cuts, clean lines. It feels good on the body. It flatters you. Things that emphasize your best qualities,
Hmm.
emphasize your eyes, emphasize, if you have nice shoulders,
Yeah.
wear things and make sure things fit you properly.
Yes.
um because I've seen women who are fuller figured, who look amazing in a business suit and look fantastic and have it well tailored, and they fit, and they walk in there like they own the place, and they
Exactly.
look fantastic. So there's this mentality of, well, I don't have a model's body, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. And then on the converse, I just had a conversation with a CEO of a major company who said to me, well, if you're too attractive, they won't take you seriously. You have to look kind of boyish and manly and masculine. And I said,
You're not catering to their insecurity. Yeah.
but you have to be who you are, and they will
Exactly.
respect you because you own your space and you walk in
Yes.
and know your stuff.
Yeah.
And they will find out very quickly. You can walk in and be feminine and strong. Obviously, you want to be dressed
Yes.
respectably and professionally. You don't walk in inappropriately, but there's nothing wrong with being feminine.
No.
And if you want to look masculine, then fine, if that's who you are.
Yeah.
But bring that in, be confident in whatever it is, own your space. Like, do not get small and shrunken and apologize
Right.
for
Yeah.
whatever it is. And, even on the reverse side now, I've seen, ironically, because there's been this push for diversity, I've seen white men now apologizing for being a white man. And
Yes.
it's
Yes.
like, whatever you bring to the table, you don't have that choice.
Yes.
You don't have a choice to be
Yes.
whatever color, shade, height, whatever you are.
Yep.
Just own
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
Just own it.
Exactly. Everybody brings something, and it's like, yeah, you wear the clothes. Don't let the clothes wear you. You don't want to go in looking
Yes.
like it's on a hanger. So, it's confidence. Are you
It's
confident in
confidence.
yourself? Right?
Exactly.
Okay, I may not know it all. I'm coming to you because you're the experts, but this is
Yes.
what I'm bringing to you. This is what
Yeah.
I'm passionate about, and this is why and whom it will serve.
Yeah.
Right? Be very clear.
If I have 20 people coming in to ask me for funding, okay, and I narrow it down to say 5 people who have excellent ideas, and I'm going to be putting millions of dollars into this project.
Hmm.
Who am I going to fund? Am I going to fund the person who comes in meekly and is like,
Hmm.
oh, here, and they might have a fantastic idea, or am I going to fund the person who who has so much confidence and
Yes.
is very clear on their vision, knows what their value is bringing to the table? Because business is not easy, life
No.
is not
No.
easy. And if you do not have the backbone and the strength
Yes.
to walk in and own that, then how am I going to trust my millions of dollars to someone who doesn't even seem to trust themselves?
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Because,
you have to
yeah.
trust yourself and know who you are in
Right.
order to make other people feel that you deserve to be invested in.
Yeah. And you don't have to know it all. That's not the point. You've
No.
got to know what it is that you are pitching. You've got to know why you're doing it. Who does it benefit? Where you see it going. You're asking for the funding to be able to hire the expertise, to be able to take it to
Yes.
the next level. So you don't need to know absolutely everything, but you've got to
Right.
produce something that
Yes.
somebody looks at and go, gosh, I can really see that. I can see
Yes.
where that's going. And
And
I
that's
can
the
see you've put some
materials.
thought into it. You've got the passion
Yes.
to get behind it. That becomes enthusiasm. When you've got
Yeah.
them in enthusiasm, I want to know more, right?
Yes.
That's what you want out of somebody that you're pitching to, the enthusiasm,
Yeah.
right? When Hallie met Sally, I want what she's having.
Exactly. Exactly. And knowing that you know how to pick the right members of your
Yes,
team,
yes,
and that you have that skill set to identify talent in others, that you know what you're bringing to the table, what they're bringing to the table,
Hmm.
and you're putting together a team that is excellent that will execute this. Then who wouldn't want, if you have the
Exactly.
capacity and ability to invest,
Mm.
people who are investing want to make money.
Yeah.
They want to know that they're going to get ROI. So they have to believe that you are that person that's going to deliver for them. And once they have that confidence, they will want to partner with you on that. And that's how it is. So they have to want to work with you.
Yes.
So if you come across as so, I mean, there is that fine line of confidence and arrogance. And,
Yes.
knowing that you are good at what you do and that you can deliver is important. But don't let it go over to the other side of overconfidence and
Hmm.
arrogance to the point where people don't want to work with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Be
Because I've heard a lot of,
enthusiastic because you believe in what it is.
yeah,
I call it inspiration to beget invitation. Be inspiring so you're inviting them to be a part of that inspiration,
yeah,
right? Because what you
yeah,
are doing is inviting them to be a part of what you have. It's both way street. They've got the money and the expertise to take you there,
yes,
but it's your baby, right? And so you're in your inspiration of what you've got, you're inviting them to be a part of it and vice versa. So again, it becomes then a team. It becomes a collaboration.
yes, yes. And so, it's funny because a lot of people have expertise, but they don't know how to present themselves
Yeah.
appropriately to funders. And of course, it can be scary. Of course, it can be nerve-wracking. But remember, you're interviewing them as well because you're
Yes.
trying to find a good fit for your project.
Hmm.
Everyone just thinks about the result like, oh, I want the money. And it's great because yes, you need the money to fund the project. But if you have the wrong funders,
Yeah. Hmm.
and they get involved in your project and they can equally derail a project if
Yes.
they push you in
Yeah.
the wrong direction. So it's important that you hold that space and kind of ask questions to them and
Yeah.
interview them.
Yeah.
And if they ask questions to you, know there's a reason why they're asking the question.
Hmm. Yeah.
Even if you think it's a silly question or it's a dumb question or oh my God, they don't know tech or they don't know this, they don't need to. They
Yeah.
don't need to know what you know. They have the money and they know what they know and
Yeah.
they're involved in funding. So you have to take their question with respect, kindness, and answer it in the way that will get the result that you want. And this is, someone said to me, okay, well, they said, well, you haven't hired an engineer. And she goes, you don't hire the engineer. That's such a dumb question. You don't hire them at that point. It's like hiring the architect before you even know that you want to build a house. And I said, yes, okay, you know that. And maybe they don't know that.
Hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with them not knowing that. But what I said, you're giving yourself an opportunity here that you're missing.
Yes.
Explain to them
Yes. The
that you,
stages. Hmm.
but not even just the stages, explain to them that you are using a strategy
Hmm.
to best be the steward of the dollars and
Hmm.
that you will hire an engineer at this point because that will be the most effective
Hmm.
and the most strategic time at which to hire this person. So instead of saying to them like, "Oh my God, you don't know anything," or
Hmm.
even if you roll your eyes or whatever, and you may not use those words, but people
Or
can feel.
your body speaking, right? To be very conscious of what your body is saying.
People can feel when you're doing an
Yeah.
internal eye roll as much
Hmm.
as if you are able to sit there and explain to them in a way and say, here's why I didn't hire this person yet because it would be costly and ineffective. And we're going to get to this place. Then I will hire the engineer at this
Hmm.
point. So then I will be effectively using the money that has already been funded to me. You're killing two birds with one stone.
Yes.
Number one, you're explaining to them, but you're also explaining to them that you have a strategy. And number three, that you are good stewards of
You've
financial
put thought into it.
backing.
Yeah. You've put
Yes, and that
thought
there's
into it.
backing and that you were strategic and you're not there going to waste money. So
Yeah.
every question is an opportunity. It's
Hmm.
an opportunity to show
That you know
your
your
strength
stuff.
and that you know your
Yeah.
stuff and also to explain it. But also if they ask you a question where you just don't have the answer for
Yeah.
them, saying, that's a really good question. Let me get you the statistics. I don't want to quote you anything that isn't accurate. I will send it to you after this meeting.
Yeah.
Um, and there's no shame in that. If they
No.
ask you something that you just don't have the information, don't dwell on it. Don't go, "Oh my God, I can't believe I don't know this," and
Yes.
let it throw you off. Just say, that's an excellent question, and I really want to give it the time it needs. And there's a lot of stats and data around that. So let me share that with you after the meeting.
Mm.
those kind of things, because that can really derail you in a moment when you're
Yeah.
presenting and they ask you something and you really just don't know the
No.
answer to
And everybody has something they don't know.
it.
Now,
Yeah,
I think that there's another point here too, is that yes, dress that represents you, but it's also, you know, they want to know your personality. And yes, what you're doing, you're putting on the presentation business hat, but don't suddenly try and be a, do business person when your personality is more outgoing. Deliver from your personality, but something that is
yeah,
cohesive,
yeah.
understanding that lays it out to them, because again, they're buying you. So don't suddenly try and be somebody else in the presentation.
Yes, exactly. Because people will feel if
Mm,
it's foreign to you, and they may not know because they don't know you. So it may not be something they can put their finger on, but they
exactly.
just know that there's something off.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, um, personality is helpful. I
Yes.
mean, people, you're going to be working long hours with these people. They want to get to know you, and they want to know that you're someone that they can, if you're sitting at the conference room table for 10 hours working on a project, if you're a joy to be around and you keep a good personality, good
Hmm.
attitude, it's a much nicer experience.
Yeah.
These right, a business is tough. I mean, it
Yes.
takes a lot of work and a lot of teamwork, and the more they can feel that they can work with you, that is a very valuable part of the process. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah.
They're smart and they're
Yeah.
really good at something in tech. A lot of times they miss those soft skills.
Yeah.
So it's important that we help, people who don't have those soft skills. And maybe they're not the person who needs to present. Maybe there's a partner that they can get who
Exactly.
has those
Mm.
soft skills and is better at presentation. And it's important you know yourself.
Yeah.
If you really, and obviously, I hope that you develop those skills. But if that's just really not your wheelhouse,
No, give it to
don't
someone
have
that is. You could be right there, right?
exactly. You can be in the room to
Teamwork.
answer questions, you can be
Absolutely.
part of the presentation, but know where your strengths and weaknesses lie. If I
Exactly.
know that I'm just not good at X, I'm going to sure as hell bring in
Yes.
someone else who knows how to do that. I
Right.
mean, there's definitely things where I am not an expert in, and I am so grateful to have people who really know their stuff
Hmm.
on that front. And I may see things I like or see, I have opinions on them for what I know about it, but to really create the strategy and to really execute something, I want someone who really has that expertise. And thank God there's people who are experts in
Yeah.
marketing and PR and, you know, um, different aspects like that, because yeah, you might be able to dabble in it, but if you really want to create a campaign, or you
Mm.
really need to do fundraising, or you really need to do something, you need somebody who has that expertise, because people tend to either think it's magic or they think it's easy. It's
Right.
either
Yeah.
they don't understand that almost everything involves really hard work, dedication, strategy, and proper execution.
Mm. I think if you
um
if you're going in and presenting, and you've got somebody that maybe is the numbers guy, somebody that's the technical person, somebody that's
yeah,
this that, two or three people that are your strength,
yeah,
and they ask a question, you know, I'm handing this over to the expert. What that's actually saying is that you are a team player. You
yeah.
do have
And you
people
know how
that
to
wear all the hats.
delegate, which is a big part of
That is a
leadership.
huge part of it, because they know that it's not all about you, me, myself, and I. It's about us. And you know how to play on other people's strength. So
Yes.
they're not just investing in you, they're investing in a team you already have. And they can
And
see that strength, and they can see the synergy in which way you work together. That's hugely
yes.
important.
Yeah. And leadership is about properly
Mm,
delegating to
mm,
people who can execute. It can be challenging because you have to have that trust in that person that you're delegating to, and making sure that they will come through and can deliver, because ultimately, and I talk about this too, is the difference between fault and responsibility.
mhm.
When you are in charge, ultimately everything is your responsibility, even if something is someone else's fault.
Yes.
So this goes back to the conversation of pointing fingers. If I bring in someone and I hire someone to execute something and they don't do it properly, I chose that person.
It falls
So
on your
it might
shoulders.
be their fault for
Mm,
the mistake they made, but I still am responsible for hiring that person and allocating it. So everybody wants to be in charge, but a lot of people don't want to take ownership and
yeah.
responsibility.
and
because
you're
that's
gonna
not the fun part.
no, no, and then no, it isn't. And there are going to be many parts of what your project is that isn't fun. But I want to get back to, like, you talk about you're collaborating together with the people that are backing you, and
Yeah.
you want to be yourself. The other very, very important thing is you want to make them feel at home to be themselves. They,
Yes.
at some point while they're interviewing you, they've got their business hat on. When they're collaborating and working with you, they want to know they can relax and be themselves and not, I have to wear this particular look all the time. So the more at home you make them feel in their own
Yes.
skin, now you've really got a partnership that really can really grow because everybody is not on guard with what we should say or do or how you
Yeah.
present yourselves, right?
Yeah, we're all human beings
Hmm.
ultimately. And everybody likes to be around people who make them feel good. That's just a sheer fact.
Yes.
I mean, if you're gonna do so, what would who would you rather be with? Especially, so many people spend a large quantity of their lives working.
Yes.
Ultimately, do you want to spend those 10 hours a day, those 8 hours a day, those, sometimes 12 hours or more if
Hmm.
you're on a big project? Do you want to spend that time with this person?
Hmm.
And is that person going to be a hard worker, pull their weight, but also be pleasant to be around? Or is it
Exactly.
going to be a nightmare?
Yeah, because you're
I
going
mean,
to come to wherever you're coming to later and later, and you're going to be on
yeah,
guard, and it's going to be felt.
yeah.
It's people feel it. They know, oh God, they must be at odds with each other. Just look at the body language.
I
Can
and
you feel the atmosphere?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I've seen people say, "Look, I would really like to fund it. I like your project, but I don't think I can work with you." I've
exactly.
literally seen that.
Yes.
And
Just because it's money doesn't mean you have to go with the money. Or just because you have money doesn't mean you have to go with the project. It's got to be more than just the money because
there's
you've got to have a
always
working
things to fund.
relationship. Yeah.
Look, there's always things to
Yeah. Yeah.
fund. I mean, that
Hmm.
is the sheer truth. There's never a dearth of projects to fund, movies to fund, uh, startups to fund. There's always more. So if it is not a good fit for them,
Yes.
they won't do it. If they don't feel like you are the right person, even if they like your idea, or if they really love your idea, they might want to say, I'm going to bring someone else in to run
Yes.
this.
Yes.
I mean, those things happen too. So,
Mhm.
and it's also as a leader, sometimes, a lot of new people, they can take a startup to a certain place. And then sometimes they need to bring in someone who has more knowledge and more
Yeah.
experience to run it once it outgrows them.
Hmm.
And so that again is part of the ego. It's very hard to let go of your baby. It's very hard.
Yes.
And you may not want to, and that's an option you have. But if you really look at this is the biggest, the best for this project, I have fired myself out of
Hmm.
I mean, I had a movie and they wanted me in a part and I was doing too many things and my life was too busy, and I said, I don't think that I can give this the 100% and do it to the highest level that I can. I brought in someone else to do my role
Hmm.
twice.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
this is myself on my own project that I was producing, and I used to be in front, and I made the choice to myself, I'm going to stick to more behind the camera
Yeah.
because I wanted to have more control over my life and pitching projects and picking things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know there are people in front and behind, but I had 10 different things going on at the same time. And I
Yes.
said, I don't feel that I can give my best, and I
Hmm.
don't want the project to suffer because of my
Hmm.
ego that I have to
Yeah.
do this. And
Yeah.
I literally took myself out of it
Hmm.
because I felt that's what was best for the project. And I know most people don't do that.
No.
Um, but I honestly felt that it was the best thing. And I don't regret it. I really feel like that was the best thing. And when you have too many things on your plate,
Hmm.
you're doing too many things. And if, and you have your personal life, if you have, young children, older, whatever's going on in your personal world, you're trying to balance a lot of things. And so you have to create priorities. You
Yes.
have to create targets. You have to create strategy in terms of how you're going to spend your day, your hours,
Mm.
and what that looks like and what really is important to you, and identifying what your life, what the balance of your life looks like. And if you are someone who is really keen on getting something off the ground and you're willing to sacrifice sort of the personal side temporarily because you are so dedicated to something, fine. Just don't lose yourself completely forever. I mean,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
okay if it's
Yes.
a few weeks, a month,
Yeah.
whatever. But I just see a lot of people doing that too. And then years later, they're like, oh my God, I just gave everything in my life to this one thing. And I wake up and I realize I don't have all these other things that I wanted.
Yeah.
And again, if that's authentic to you and you don't want these other things, and that's perfectly
But
fine.
yeah,
I'm not
but it's if you don't give yourself time to just
exactly.
be, how are you fortifying yourself? How are you getting the inner clarity?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
inner clarity comes when we switch off from the outside expectations and we go in and we listen to our heart, soul,
Yeah.
and spirit. We walk with nature, we meditate, we spend time in silence, listen
Yeah.
to music, whatever it is that is for you. You are filling and regenerating, you are
Yes.
repurposing, and that clarity that you come out with, you're then going to bring to your project. So
Yes.
even though you may be working
And you
12
burn
hours a
out. You
day,
burn out.
you burn
Yes. You
out,
don't
and then you're
burn
no
out.
good to anyone. You've got to set time aside.
Yes.
Nobody finds you. No, everybody knows this is your time. Apart from everything burning down, right? This is your time where you are going to spend that time in you. This is not selfish. This is self imperative that you do
Yes.
that, because then you're
Yeah.
coming with a clear head and a clear vision and clarity that you're bringing to the project. If you're running ragged, you're going to get frazzled and you're not
Yeah.
going to see things. You're going to get irritated and that starts
Yes.
spilling over. So it's really, really important.
Yeah. And again, that's with your personal life and your private life, because quite often, if you are a parent or things and running a business or all these things, you end up with no time for yourself.
Yeah.
So even if you carve out 30 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes to just meditate, give yourself some peace, you're starting your day off better,
Yeah.
making sure you give yourself sleep. I see, there was a period of time which I do see reversing where everyone was bragging about how little sleep they got.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a badge of honor
Nope.
to say I didn't
It's
sleep.
going to show
And
in the work.
yeah, and it's, ultimately, again, if you need to do that one night, okay, but it's not something that you want to make a pattern, because
No.
sleep, you've discovered how important and vital it is
Mhm.
to your health, your well-being, um, and ultimately to execute well in all aspects of your life. Being well rested, it shows, cortisol levels, stress levels, your body, your health, your oxygen levels, all these things are really valuable. And how we treat our body
Mhm.
really reflects how we think of ourselves and how we show up. And part of that being confident, it's so funny because people think all these things are just about superficial
No.
things, about looking good and all this
Yeah.
stuff. But your confidence comes and they said there was a doctor I was listening to was talking about exercise, and he said if you are overweight and exercise, you will live longer than somebody who's thin and doesn't
Mhm.
exercise. If you are people, he says, if you have heart disease and exercise, you will live longer than somebody who doesn't exercise. I mean,
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, these self-care and giving yourself time to move your body and fitness. And again, this doesn't go down to perfect or being some size that somebody says is the right
Yeah.
size.
No.
It's about your own self-worth, your own value, your own health, and you will be more confident when you walk in. You will feel better in your skin, you will look better, everything will flow better if you give yourself basic self-care and
Well-beingness. Yeah.
well-being.
Exactly.
And again,
Mm.
it's not this, our culture has so much of this pressure on people to look a certain way and
Mhm.
filters and all this, but that's why there's this backlash for authenticity, because
Yes. Yes.
everything is this filters and all this stuff and
Mhm.
this pretend, and it just makes people feel worse about themselves
Yeah.
because they don't think they live up to some imperfect situation. And doctors were talking about people showing up with filtered versions and asking for that in the plastic surgeon's
I know.
office.
No.
And
No.
the doctor's like,
I'm
this is
shame on
not
the plastic
possible.
surgeons that do it, quite honestly,
Well,
because there
the
are some that would just do it because they're going to make
right.
money out of it, and then
Yeah. But
then
it's
it's
not
horrific
possible.
afterward. No.
It's not physically possible. And the doctor was saying, he goes, this is the bridge of the nose can't be this small, or
Yeah.
like this is not physically possible in a human being. So, we have to, again, find the wholeness within ourselves. And that doesn't mean that we don't care about others, that we
No.
don't love others, that we don't want others to be successful. It just means that we have to heal these things, these vulnerabilities, to the point we're always vulnerable,
Yeah.
and in being a human being. But I mean, these things where we have patterns, or just things that we do that cause self-harm.
Yes.
And the more we can recognize our own patterns and our own challenges, the better we are. Because I've seen people go, "Why is it I'm never going to date again? I always
Hmm.
be X, Y, and Z, or I always do that." It's like, okay, why is that?
Yeah.
Why are we attracting, or why are we looking for the same thing? There's obviously a
A root
pattern
cause.
that,
Hmm.
right, that there's something that we see that as home to us. Like, we
Mm.
see that because of whatever trauma or damage that
Yes.
we had as a child. So that's why that person seems comfortable, because that's familiar to you.
Yes,
And
exactly.
we have to get out of that and recognize it. And once you see the pattern, it's easier to,
Be aware
resolve
of it,
those
catch
things.
it before you repeat it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mentioned the word a little while ago when you were talking flawsome, which it was a word I came across a couple of years ago, and I absolutely love it. And like you take yourself as the bowl of life, and it's cracked and it's broken and it's chipped, but you put yourself back together with love. A love that is so bonding that that cup can wither anything. And then you fill it with love. And then you let that love spill over. And I think when you embrace all the beautiful flaws, all the things that have happened in your life that have made you who you are today, and no
Yeah.
matter what the scars are, no matter what the battles are, no matter what the triggers or the challenges are, that
Yeah.
10% we always carry with us, that life experience is just once has filled that bowl, and we filled ourselves up with love. And then that self-love is something that exudes over and is shared. And if people can feel
Yeah.
that self-love, I'm doing it because I'm passionate about it. I'm doing it because I believe in it. I'm doing it because this is something that I was born to do, my meaningful purpose. That purpose is intoxicating. That purpose is something that everybody's looking for in life. And if they can feel that purpose and want to be a part of it, that they can be meaningful to other people, they want to be a part of it. So become that, because that's who you're meant to be. You
Yeah.
find your meaningful purpose. All those things that have happened to you in life were all for you to discover your courage, your strength, your abilities, right? Your calling, your purpose in life, and you've become this beautiful instrument now that
Yeah.
everybody is just waiting to hear. And it's because of the battles that you've had, because of the challenges you've had in life, that you're now bringing to this project, bringing to whatever it is you're doing. And
Yeah.
that really becomes something that people want to embrace, because in a world, and going back to what we were talking about with AI and fake news and everything else, and of course green screens, you don't know what's real anymore,
Yeah.
and we want that authenticity. We want to feel it's coming from the heart and the
Yeah.
spirit. We want to feel that it's got some meaning, because we want to ignite the
There's
feeling
nothing better
inside
than
others. Yes, love.
Yeah, there's nothing better than when you really connect with somebody. There's
Yes.
nothing better than when you have a genuine connection and
Hmm.
conversation. It feels really great,
Yes.
and it doesn't have to be about romance or anything
Mm.
else. It's like, whether it's a business person, whether it's a friend, if you meet someone, sometimes you just meet someone and you connect and you end up on this intense conversation.
Hmm.
And there's nothing better, because there's so much in our world that
Yeah.
has walls up, and texting, and
Mm.
this sort of superficial communication where,
Arm's length and
and
everything. Hmm.
right, and people are so afraid to
Hmm.
really show themselves and be themselves and connect and trust, and there's nothing wrong with taking a minute to get to know a person, to
Yeah.
see if they're the right person to trust. There's
Yes.
nothing wrong with that. But the only way you really can get to know a person is getting to know a person.
Yes,
You
exactly.
you can't
Time. Give the
impose,
time. Yeah.
you can't, yes, you can impose your assumptions on them,
Hmm.
but that's just what those are, is
Hmm.
assumptions. And
Hmm.
so there's nothing that can substitute really just talking to somebody and understanding where they come from, who they are, what they want, what their fears are, and really being able to have those kinds of conversations, which I think when you finally get to have those kind of things, it's really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really beautiful to really
Yes.
get to know a person. And a lot of people have this bravado, and they just, they're so cool and everything is surface and all this stuff. But when you really sit down, I haven't met a person who does not have insecurities, doesn't
Yeah.
have even all the bravado, and sometimes
Yes.
that's even more so. But it's really about going, it's okay. It's okay
Mm,
to be, we're all, you have to remember, you're just a human being. We're all just
yeah.
human beings bumping through this world trying to do the best we can. And if we remember that, we can be kinder to each other, we
Hmm.
can be kinder to ourselves. We've all made mistakes, we've all screwed up, we've all done things that you go, oh God, what the hell is that? And no matter how smart you are, you
Doesn't
could say
matter.
things, it doesn't matter. um and it's really just remembering that, because if you remember that you are just a human being and the person across from you is just a human being, it takes a lot of that like fear out of it, or this like imposition of this person, because you feel like, oh my God, they have so much power over my future because they own this and this. Well, ultimately you do. And
Yes.
they can either be part of this journey, or maybe
Hmm.
they're not the right person for you.
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean
Exactly.
it's over. And I
No.
think when you walk in and you expect someone to hand you your future, or you give them so much power, it makes it very difficult to really just be a human being
Yeah.
across from another human being. And that's all. And once we get to that place and we can say, okay, we're just two human beings, and we could potentially both help each other get where we want to go, and we can do something amazing together and achieve something fantastic that we both are really proud of, then that's great. That's the
Maybe
ideal.
the greatest thing that we can give people is time. Time is what we all have, and everybody has the same amount of time. But when you can actually give somebody else your time, truly listen and give that time for them to feel they can be vulnerable with you and open up, then it's something that becomes really something that that time is a wonderful gift. It's a wonderful gift that you're giving. It's a wonderful gift that that other person's receiving, and you aren't going to get to know the snapshot of what a person is, that 50 8% there, um,
Yeah.
with this whole facade of how many likes, how I look, how this and how that. It's that outside approval that we seek. But when we can actually be with somebody or group of people where we feel safe to be ourselves,
Yeah.
and we give that person time to feel safe, to
Yes.
feel that they can be who they are, then we can bring them out to be even more of who they are with that support, with that care.
Yes.
I think as a human race, we've got to go back to caring for each other, going back to
Yeah.
supporting each other, going back to being the wind beneath each other's wings. Because the more this person and that person succeeds, the more you succeed just by being there for them, you know?
Yeah, too much of our world is this thought of like, well, if you have it or you
Yeah.
succeed, then I can't have it. And
Hmm.
then, it hurts me. And what I've always said is like, life isn't pie.
No.
It's not, there's enough for everyone. It doesn't, just because I take a piece doesn't mean you have less. We can all be successful in our own way. We can all have, and I think there's all this fear that of lack. And
Yes.
if you get something, that means I don't.
Right. Or we're
And
not enough. If there's not enough for anything, there's plenty.
yeah,
There's abundance out there. We just got to tap into it.
exactly. And you know what? I want my friends and the people around me to be successful. And if I'm
Yes.
successful and they're successful, we
Yay.
can do more. We can do
Yes.
more
It's
together. We can even,
exciting.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I genuinely am happy for someone when they do well. I mean, I just, I'll see people posting something that they did, and it was
Mm.
something great or exciting. And I'm just like, claps all around. That's great.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be this. It's unfortunate that so many people just take joy in looking at other people and bringing them down or
I know.
posting. They forget that
Yeah, that's their own
somebody
inner
else is
misery.
a,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm. No.
it really, you have to put a hateful comment on
Yeah.
somebody's joy.
Oh,
Like, why?
yeah.
Why do
Yeah.
you, why does that make you, you have to look at yourself and go,
Yeah.
why is
What
this
are you
something?
getting out of that? To be
Exactly.
so mean to other people. What's it saying about you? Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And look at yourself and go, why do I need this? Like, obviously, there's something that I'm feeling bad about, and I'm lashing that out on someone else who doesn't, I don't even know.
Exactly. There's two words I don't like when it comes to our own self-development. That's comparison and competition. And you don't compare yourself to other people. Now you can be inspired by someone,
Yes.
I would like to be as confident as that person. I'd like to be as free in myself as that person because they've
Oh,
inspired you. And the competition is not competing against other people that I've got to win over you. It's just the
yeah.
the joy of achievement and accomplishing in life every
Yeah.
step of your world rather than competing against someone, because when we compare and compete, we're
Yeah.
feeling less than, and we're feeling the only way we're going to have self-value is to beat someone. No, that's not what it's about. We want everyone to win,
Yes.
and everybody can win when everybody is there supportive of each other, because somebody else's triumph is another beautiful energy out in the world that everybody feels, and that ignites, that same energy in yourself to achieve something yourself.
Yeah. And I think that that's what so much of the world is going through right now is
Yeah.
there's a lot of people with fear, loneliness, and lack.
Mm,
And because there's so much fear, loneliness, and a sense of lack, they are having a hard time being happy for others, for looking for the good in others because they can't find it. Um,
exactly.
and because there's so much loneliness, I mean, obviously, COVID was a big factor
Yeah.
for a lot of people in being isolated and lonely. Social media is a big factor in being isolated and lonely. And there's just a big fear on really just connection, and a lot of people are losing that. And it's I think it's an epidemic that we really need to focus on, and this is why mental illness and mental
Mm,
health has become so important
yes.
and so highlighted. And people used to not want to talk about it, and now it's become such a topic because
Yes.
I think people are recognizing how deeply this loneliness affects your health, connections with others, and it's a big issue that I don't think is being um, really looked at for the evolution of why. Like I'm a big person on
Mm,
resolving issues.
yes.
And I think a lot of people talk about the problems, but
Mm,
not why it happened and what can
yes.
we do about it.
Exactly.
I'm a big input. I really like to look at the root of problems, and
Yes.
that's how I solve a lot of things because you can always put a band-aid on a gunshot
Mm-mm-mm.
wound, but you're not solving the
No,
problem, right?
no, no.
So a lot of people want to, they throw money at something, or they um will talk about it endlessly, but people aren't really looking at the root of why things are happening and what can we do to improve the situation. And until we start looking at roots, I mean, every problem that we see across the board, whether it's education or
Hmm.
homelessness or there's a root. There's why are these things happening? And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you eradicate it altogether, but you can start taking steps in the right direction to remedy situations.
Yes.
And there are things you can do in every problem, but
Yep.
the thing is we have to work together on that. It can't be one
Yeah.
side against the other
No.
side.
No,
And then we
no.
get gridlock,
This is
and then we get
it's
gridlock.
everybody's problem, right?
Yes.
In a week, I have a book, anthology book coming out called Our Forgotten Children. And,
Uh-huh.
14 other authors have joined me, and each chapter is presenting a problem in the raising of our
Yeah.
children, things we're not paying attention to. Now, if we're looking at our youth turning into adults today, they're angry, they're disconnected, they're feeling lost, they're turning to violence, and that is a great deal of it is because they've not been given the proper routine to grow from, the proper love and the guidance to grow from. We've let them
Yeah.
down somewhere along the line, and when we're aware, we're invited to care. And when we care, we start talking. And when we start talking, we start resolving. We pay attention to what the problem is. But we have
Yeah.
to collectively look at that problem and say, put differences aside. What is the need that we
Yeah.
need to address that's going to benefit everybody? Not me against you or this against that.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
what's
that's
need?
gotten lost. That's gotten
Yes,
lost in this. If we do well while you're in charge, then our team is going to look bad,
yes,
because you will get credit for the success. And so the people in any country or any business, if you don't have cohesive leadership where people are, it's not just about who gets credit. It's about,
mm,
okay, who are we? We need to take care of the people of this country. We need to take care
yes,
of the people in this business. We need to take care of the people in this home. In any circumstance, if there's infighting because someone doesn't want the other person to succeed for whatever reason or infighting, it all falls apart.
yeah.
So we all have to have the higher good and the collective good in mind in problem solving rather than just the self and, oh, am I going to get
Absolutely.
credit for this or is someone else going to get credit for this? But if we are concerned about the people of any given place,
Yeah.
government, like you will see that. And there's Gilda Meir said, war will end when people you love their children more than hate the other
Yes.
person.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's pretty much across the board with
Yeah.
anything I find.
Mm,
When you prioritize right and wrong, when you
mm,
prioritize what is best for the group, you can find solutions. If it's all about ego and self-interest and all that kind of stuff, it makes it very difficult to get anywhere. I mean,
exactly.
that's just the thing. And with children, there's been too much, we have this pendulum that swings
Mm,
too much. We had
mm,
too much neglect followed by too much obsessive,
mm.
hovering, or not enough involvement or too much
Yeah.
involvement or too much control and not any. And there we have to find, and it's not easy. I mean, it's
Nope.
not easy
Nope.
to find
There's no
happy
one
medium.
solution, right?
Right. And each child is different and what their needs are.
Yes.
But I firmly believe if every child knows that they are
Yeah.
loved and that
For who they are.
for who they are and not because they got good grades
Yes.
or they're not, if they make a mistake, that they're still loved. And when a child asks you, do you still love me, or do I, or is this or that, it's like, I love you no matter what. I
Exactly.
love you because you're you. And then, every child has their challenges. Every child has, 1 in 4 children now have developmental delays and
Yes.
learning
Yes.
special needs. So we as a society have to stop with this. Everyone gets straight A's and everyone
Yeah.
gets this. Everyone has to have this
One
because
size fits all. Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
a realistic
Mm-mm.
thing. And it leaves a lot of people out of that equation. And we have to start looking at how are we preparing our children
Hmm.
for a future and for an adulthood and for being a good human being? How
Exactly.
are we preparing them to be a functional member of our society? Does everybody really need, some of these things that we're doing, like calculus or this or that or
Yes.
geometry? Like, is
Yes.
that really important? But they don't know personal finance and
Right.
they don't understand how to run a business and they
Yeah.
don't understand how to write a resume.
Yes.
You know, and I'm not saying no knowledge is wasted, but I do think that we need to start
Look
training
at the
our children.
times of what the child needs to prepare
Yes,
them for life,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yes. We're not giving them the life skills they need.
Exactly. And I said to someone who was, a politician, and we were talking about these things. They go, oh, but budget. And they always budget is always becomes the block, right?
Right.
And I said, it doesn't have to cost $1 more. You already have math teachers.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a full year. You can have a lesson
Mm,
on compound interest,
mm,
a lesson on investing, a
mhm.
lesson on personal finance, on how to save, on how to do a budget. These are basic skills. It doesn't have to be a year-long class, but you
Right.
could have a few lessons on it. And if kids are interested, maybe have an elective that is finance and
Hmm.
things so that kids who, you have your basic, like they used to have home ec or,
Yes.
things like that, which I know they mostly don't have anymore, but, skills that are, important to know.
Important to do. Yeah, in fact, actually, we actually have a chapter on that, on actually how to teach your children to look at
Yeah,
money, value money, how to actually how you're working for money, letting money work for you. You're not just working for money, but the
right.
understanding of money, because they either have lack or too much, or
Yeah.
we just don't
And
teach
they
them
don't
this.
have any understanding of
No.
it until they can, really make it. And you either have kids in poverty who
Yes.
they don't know how to manage it because they don't have any, and they're not, given the opportunity to learn how to turn that
No.
around and
And
how,
they also then stay in poverty mindset, thinking that
right,
money is the definition of the who they are. And this
right.
is something we need to teach them. Money isn't, your
Exactly.
personal
But
abundance
also
is not to
how,
do with money.
even if you have a small amount, putting aside and saving a
Yes.
dollar every week or whatever,
Yes.
and allocating as much as you can, even if it's a small amount, and how it builds up over time, and how to live within your means. And,
Yes.
no matter how much you have, how to manage that. And, these are important life skills that
Yeah.
everybody needs, and and there are ways to teach people how to be a better parent and
Yes.
how to
Yes.
also manage their stress and their anger and to heal
Hmm.
themselves. And we always have these like physical checkups, but why don't we have mental
We
checkups for
don't.
people?
We
And
don't.
we
Yeah.
treat that because the brain, obviously, and our well-being affects every other aspect of our lives. If that our physical body, obviously, if you're under
Hmm.
extensive stress or
Hmm.
have a lot of things that creates illnesses,
Hmm.
but also how you interact with others. If you're under excessive stress or anger, that begets violence. That begets, again, looking at roots of problems. Why
Yes.
are there shootings?
Right.
Why is there violence? Why are we having these
Yeah.
things? What is causing this to really grow to this level? I mean, of course, there's people who have mental illness, but why? What is happening that is
Yes.
causing the violence
Yes.
aspect?
Where's the root cause? And a lot
Right.
of it, we're not investing in families. We expect families, they have children, they're meant to know it all. And instead of being there and being supportive,
Yeah.
helping them for a family to stay together, the roof over the head, getting a job, having stability, instead of investing in the families, we end up with a single parent working three
And
jobs trying to handle
education.
it. Our education, a huge
Yes.
one. We're
And
not
from the
educating
beginning.
people where they need it, you know?
Yes. And how they need it. I mean, we need to make sure that we are giving our kids skills and tools to be functional adults. How do you run a company? How do you
Yes,
work? How do you be a good employee? How
right.
do you manage money so that you can live? Even people who don't have a lot can figure out a way. I don't, can figure out ways to manage. And also, how is our economy functioning for
Exactly.
people?
Yeah, I
What
have
can we do?
one chapter in there of a foster mum to boys. She's a fostered mum to boys, and the statistics is that 70% of the people that are incarcerated are foster children, which is just, that isn't their fault as far as I'm concerned. That is we're letting them down. She doesn't let them time out at 18. She keeps them until they're fully educated and 21, that they've got a degree, they've got an education, they've got something to go to.
Yeah.
And she invests in them in the other thing of their self-esteem because they feel loved. They feel loved. And so many of
Yes.
these children don't feel loved. And if you've got a parent
Yeah.
that hasn't felt loved, how are they going to show that love to a child? We're not putting the emphasis on where it needs to be. When you talk about egos on a movie set, it's
Yeah.
generally somebody that somewhere along the line is looking to be loved because they weren't loved. It doesn't matter if they're rich, they're popular, they're this
Yeah.
and that. It's always that need to be loved because somewhere along
Well,
the line they don't feel that way.
most of us have trauma. Yes,
Yes.
everybody has trauma, and people think that they don't have trauma because maybe they weren't physically abused.
Mm.
But there's so many different ways
The
that trauma,
societal trauma.
comes.
Yeah.
Yeah, or look, you've been ridiculed at school, you were
Yeah.
bullied, we were made to feel we were less than or not heard. Sometimes you were just ignored, and people don't
Mm.
understand that that can be a trauma as well, is just, for parents who just did not prioritize you and you weren't heard.
Mm.
There's different ways of doing that. It's not only physical abuse, there's a lot of ways where people don't feel good about themselves
Yes. Yes.
and they're looking for validation. And
Hmm.
we need to teach people how to do that from a very young age. And I've seen some people doing this, and somebody was posting videos about this little girl who was upset, and the mother was giving her the language and saying, I am good, I am
Hmm.
valuable,
Hmm.
and it's so adorable, but it's like, it's so great that some people now
Yes.
are learning and understanding. Parents don't really know what they're doing,
No.
and it's
We
and
used to be a village to raise a child. Now it's
yes,
in isolation, and you're meant to get it all
yeah, and
right.
if they're abused, right, and
Yeah.
if they were taught
Hmm.
poorly or not given tools, they will pass those on. So we have
Yes.
two choices. We can either pass down or we can heal and improve. I've seen people who have both ends of the spectrum. You have some people who said, "Oh, I was abused or this happened to me, and I'm never going to let this happen to my child." Or you have the other direction where they just perpetuate that
Yeah.
cycle. So you
Yes.
have those choices in everything you do, is to say, I know this happened to me and I don't want this to ever happen. And that's enough. I'm not perpetuating this cycle again.
We look at the
And
TV shows and
yeah,
the movies that are popular nowadays. Yes, we've got, the ones that are escapism and that are big and flashy, etc. But the stories that really capture us are the stories that really tell the story of why somebody's suffering. of how, how they've come out of it, bringing attention to the problem. And these are the kind of stories that we're drawing to because it relates to our own life. It doesn't matter if it's a story about,
Yeah,
Native Indian or Indigenous people here or this or that. It is kind of a reflection back on our
right.
society as a whole, how we have pulled the plug on community and how we need to see each other for who we are and be there and recognize each other's suffering and help each other
Yeah.
heal.
Yes. I mean, ultimately, I'm really, really hoping that as, there's been this push towards authenticity, I
Yes.
really hope that, we tend to, I don't know why human beings do this, but we tend to swing a pendulum,
Mm.
really
One
far
way to
one
the other.
way, and then it goes back, and then
This is a
sometimes we go
happy
too far
medium.
this way or too far this. I mean, there's so much we need to learn about balance and
Yes.
about, moderation
Mm.
of things, whether on every aspect of our lives. It's like, yes,
Flow, not
it's
extremes.
exactly. And it's like not being over extreme and
Hmm.
hypersensitive to
Hmm.
every single thing and understanding intention and
Or
degrees
blame and shame. Hmm.
and nuance and
Yeah.
shame. Yeah, I mean, like there are nuances, and somebody makes
Yes.
a mistake or choose the wrong word. That doesn't mean they need to die and not ever live
I
again.
know, I know. It just gets
Or
too much, too much.
yeah,
Yeah.
or it's like, we ignore the most egregious behavior and somebody makes a slight misstep and they're
Mm.
completely wiped off the face of they're not
Yeah.
allowed to work anymore. And it's
I
just
know. It's just,
we
yeah.
we need to
Where's
have that
where's understanding
balance.
forgiveness and understand that if that person has said that and they thought it was okay, what is it saying about the society they were brought up in?
But
Let us
also
put
there's
the camera on
nuance.
to,
Yes.
yeah, but the nuance of it, yeah, but very often it is what they've been brought up with as the norm. So they didn't know it
Yes.
was wrong.
Well,
So
and also if something was 20 years ago and there was a
exactly.
different belief system
My
or
God, look at the
mindset.
70s. It was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, look, we cannot judge people who, if somebody was 13 years old and posted a stupid comment as a child
Yeah,
and now they're 30 and they're getting in trouble
I know.
for a
Come on.
stupid comment,
Yeah.
20 years ago and
It's
held to that
get off it,
standard.
folks. It's like look in the mirror yourself.
I mean, we've all, yes, if
Ariel, yeah.
everybody had a video and a picture of every stupid mistake they ever did
Yes,
publicly, that would be awful for everyone. I mean,
exactly.
there's nobody immune to mistakes. And yes, there are things we need to say, okay, this person is,
Yeah,
not a good role model or not
yeah,
someone that we should be holding up. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be consequences for extreme
exactly.
behaviors, of course, but we have to have nuance.
Yeah.
Everything can't be treated the same.
No, no
If
tar and quartering people just because they made a mistake. It's human,
yeah, or
right? And
if
it's
someone
also
makes
how
a
they
joke,
react to it.
yeah, if somebody makes a joke that was well intentioned and maybe you didn't like it, okay, that's not the same as, child molestation. We
Yeah.
can't treat
No,
everything on the
no,
same, we can't
yeah.
treat everything on the same level of extreme behavior. And obviously there are behaviors that are not okay no matter what, and I'm not justifying any of that, but there are people you know, who are more offended than the people who should be offended by it.
Yes.
There's someone who's offended on someone else's behalf and they make a bigger deal out of things. And so, again, it's whether to bring it back to the business conversation, we have to have a balance
Yeah.
in, there's a lot of different personalities you're dealing with and
Mm,
working with. We have to kind of hear people out, understand intention
mm,
and nuance, and
yes.
create teams that can communicate well with each other. And yes, there are sometimes someone's personality does not flow well with something else, and you
Right.
can't make that, the round peg in a square hole.
Mm,
But most of the time, if you all have a cohesive want
hmm.
and you have something you're all working towards, if you are willing to just listen and adjust and put things together, you can have differences of
Yeah.
opinion and come to a place. Whether that's in the political sphere, whether that's in life, whether that's in business, we have to just, if we come from a place of just humanity,
Yeah.
and just listening to others. Most people want whatever spectrum they're on,
Yeah.
they want their kids to be educated. They
Yes.
want love, they want kindness, they want food. They want to have, their basic needs covered. They want to be able to just live
Dignity.
simply and
Mm,
dignity And, most people want this, right?
Yes, that's the
So we need,
fundamental.
right. So we need to say, okay, we're all agree on this.
Yes.
How do we get there?
Yeah.
What can we do to do this, to get rid of some of this feeling of hate and lack and this blame and this, oh, it's this group's fault or that group's
Mm.
fault, or, we need to just start thinking more about root causes of problems and how do we address that to improve our society, our companies, ourselves.
Yes.
And if we all work on ourselves, we as a society as a whole will be a better society.
I 100% agree with you because the more we step into a higher consciousness and a higher vibration, basically coming from love, kindness, respect,
Yeah,
consideration, compassion, when we step into that vibration, we've raised that frequency. Now that is what we're putting out to the world. And that becomes that
yeah,
invitation for other people to match it. If we're in blame, hate, shame, loathing, deceit, that is a vibration that's very thunderous that actually breaks things apart. It
yeah,
doesn't lift things up and have things join. So when people are waiting for someone else to do it, it's actually us that is a part of the equation. Whether you're in business, the business of life, it doesn't matter what you're doing, where you're doing it, is
yeah,
it bring the essence of your higher consciousness.
yeah.
And I'm not talking religion or God,
No,
that's up to you, whatever your faith is. It's a higher consciousness of
exactly.
consideration and love and
Exactly.
passion. And when you step into that light,
And
you go
ultimately,
for
most
reputation.
religions are ultimately based on that, regardless of what religion you're referring to. The
Yes,
majority of religions do come from that place of
they've
love
been
the neighbor, or
misconstrued along the way,
yes,
and
of course, and
it's become something more of a
of
control
course,
factor and
right.
a dictation rather than something as a compass for us to live by. So I mean, we
Right.
need to go
I
back
mean,
to that
I'm not,
moral
yeah,
compass.
I'm not here to judge. And if your religion makes helps you to be a better person and a happier
That's it.
person and gives
Yes.
you a foundation and you have a community around it, that's beautiful. If you're using a religion as a basis to hate other people who are not part of
Mm-mm-mm.
your religion or
Mm.
don't agree with you, then that's a different scenario.
That's a different scenario. Yeah. You're
Yes.
using it for the
It's
wrong
like I'm all
agenda.
for people finding what it is that makes them,
Yes.
be their best selves, and if that's something that you need to find yourself and to give you that foundation and guidance, and
Yes.
having a place to go where you can have a community and have someone to talk to, and whatever that is for you, you have to create that environment for yourself. But we cannot look to anyone else other than
Mm.
ourselves to
Yeah.
resolve the things that we need. And it's very easy to blame society and to blame the
Mm.
world and to blame our neighbors and to do this and that. But we have control over how we respond to things. We have control of the choices we make. And I've heard people say to me, well, I can't do this, or I don't have this choice. And I said, let me ask you a question. I mean, literally, and this is an extreme example, but at any moment, you can walk out the front door of your house and never come back.
Exactly.
You can do that. Anyone can do that. And some people have done that.
Mm.
There are people who've abandoned families. There's people who
Hmm.
have literally just walked out and said, I am not coming back. I'm not saying that's a good choice. I'm
Hmm.
not saying that's the right choice, but I'm saying we all have choices. We
Even not
all
making a
have
choice is a choice.
Not making a choice is a choice.
Yeah.
And if you really, and I'm not saying you make an abrupt choice,
No.
but if you really find yourself working somewhere where you're miserable or in a relationship that
Hmm.
you're miserable,
Hmm.
take the steps. There are
Yes.
steps you can take each day to make improvements in yourself, your life. There's free therapy, there's suicide hotline
Podcasts.
call numbers,
Yes.
there's
Yes.
podcasts, there's tons of free resources. Even on YouTube, there's meditation and
Mm.
healing meditations and guided meditations and yoga classes. And
Mm.
they'd be like, well, I don't have money to go. Like, I literally saw somebody doing a free thing. They were doing a reel on exercises you can do at home using the wall, or like
Yes.
if somebody at
Exactly.
the gym, and somebody was posting, well, you're privileged because you can go to the gym and exercise. And I was like, you I mean,
You're
do you
making
have a floor and
excuses.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like that's this mentality of
Yes.
it's a privilege
Yes.
if you have literally anything.
Yeah.
And not that we, yes, we should be grateful for what we have, but there's free Pilates, free YouTube, free weight training, free all this stuff on YouTube that you can just pull up
Yeah.
and have a class for free. You can do push-ups, you can do sit-ups, you can do squats and lunges and
Hmm.
Pilates on your floor. I mean,
Yes.
you don't have to have these things. If you make the decision that you want something, there are literally so many free. The benefit of technology is it has
Mm,
brought us a lot of free resources.
exactly.
And so, and people say, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. There's libraries with free computers. There's
Hmm.
places, there's Starbucks with free Wi-Fi. I mean, I'm just saying there's like very little excuses if you want something bad enough.
Exactly. Do you
And
want it bad enough? Are you willing
yeah,
to change? Are you willing to
right.
start exploring? Because
And to
if you're,
look at yourself honestly and
yeah,
say,
exactly. Yeah, because
and
if you
say
still
this
think
is
of
not a
money,
priority for me.
no.
Just instead of saying
Yeah,
I don't have time or whatever, just acknowledge
yeah,
right now this isn't a priority for me.
right.
And then that's okay. I mean, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that to say, look, I just don't have the bandwidth for this right now.
But there's
But
thing
you can
called
take
nature that
steps.
you can go for a walk in nature and you can exercise in nature. I mean, there's
Right.
always something. It's
That's
like, what is your priority? And if you are making
right.
yourself your priority to be as full and abundant and enriched in yourself, then you are
Read
actually,
books.
yeah,
Read books
read
on
books, listen
topics.
to podcasts, watch
Get
TED
up, get
Talks,
up every
all of that.
morning, go for a walk,
Mhm.
meditate, read a book.
Yeah,
You can do all that before work. Like even if
exactly.
you have kids and you have to get them to school, I'm telling you, 5 minute meditation.
Yes.
5 minutes. And I agree. Like some people go, oh, I get, the get up at 5 a.m. thing. That's not for everyone. I mean,
No.
some people need their sleep, and I value sleep, and I
Mhm.
am doing my best to get more in. Um, and so,
What
that may
suits you? What
yeah, you
suits
have
you?
to
Just do
find,
something. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, take steps in the right direction. Start with 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Just start.
Yes.
Just start.
Yes.
And
We,
and
we,
and
we've got we've
once
got
you're
to
doing it,
understand that all of the problems in the world we've created, but we
yes.
also are intelligent and beautiful beings where we can actually be the solution as well. And that starts with us on us, being
Yeah.
us. When we
And being
bring to
honest.
the table, yeah, bring to the table your beautiful essence of who you are in that lightened state of consciousness, you are now the solution because we can't knowingly hurt anyone in that heightened state. But to do so will be to hurt ourselves, right?
Yeah. And there was a doctor talking about this victimhood because even if something happened to you and you are a victim, it's about saying to yourself, this happened to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's because we allowed a person into our
Hmm.
lives that we shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So it's not about blaming the victim, but it's
Hmm.
about how can I make it so this doesn't happen again?
Yes. And how
How,
do I
what
make it
can
a
I
lesson rather than being a victim of it?
Right, right. Because I mean, I'll be very frank with you. I've had, many of these things happen to me. I've
Hmm.
lived through, assault and all these
Yeah.
things. And, I mean, I mean, that would be a whole separate conversation. But for me, it's about, okay, this happened to me. I don't want it to happen again.
No.
I'm going to do these steps to make sure that I'm in a safe environment, that I'm not
Yeah.
allowing people into my life who don't deserve to be there, that this is how I'm
Hmm.
going to learn to protect myself, whether it's going and taking self-defense class so you know how to defend yourself. It's about educating yourself, surrounding yourself with better people. There are
Putting out
steps
a
we
different aura here, right?
there's
Yeah.
there's steps we can all take, and I would never blame a victim, and so many victims are children and they're innocent and pure and
Exactly.
beautiful. But I'm just saying I've been, what would be called a victim on occasion when I was a child, and what I have learned is I don't want that to happen again. So
Exactly.
I'm going to have to do what I can. That yes, things can happen to you.
Yes.
I'm not suggesting that things don't happen to people, but on every account, like diseases, there are steps we can take
Hmm.
to reduce our chance of getting diseases. Again, it's not 100%. I would
No.
never say it is, but 50% of cancers are preventable. Some are not.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming anyone for it. I've had people I love. My dad passed from colon cancer. um there are things we can take. So I go, okay, I have a heightened potential,
Hmm.
so I'm going to take these steps to make sure I'm healthier and reducing my risk.
Hmm.
um if there are things,
Ownership.
Yeah, you just take steps to improve your
Yes,
chances. I am
yes,
not suggesting that we have control over everything. We absolutely
no,
don't. But if you don't, if you're driving and you're paying attention and you're not speeding and you're making sure to stop at the stop signs and the stoplights, and you're less likely to have an accident.
exactly.
Does that mean that you control everyone else on the road?
No.
No. And it doesn't mean that someone else can't do something to you, but you are more likely, if you are paying attention, to be able to avoid an accident, to
Hmm.
be able to prevent one, and to be safer. So
Yes,
we don't have 100% control over everyone else. We don't have control over
no,
anyone else and things, but we do have control over ourselves, and we can take steps to improve our lives, to be safer, to be knowledgeable, to help ourselves, and to do things. And even if it's small steps every
yes.
day. And
Self-ownership, self-love, right?
yes,
There's nothing more beautiful than someone that stepped into the essence of who they are in love, because you can feel that person. You know that they're coming from a place of heart. You know that's their authenticity, and
yeah,
you know that warmth and the compassion of who they are. They've done the work. Our children are like that as children, but then we send them to school and we start
yes,
molding them into society's shoulds and must be's, and they lose that essence. We need to keep that
exactly.
essence of that beauty, of that innocence, that joy of life,
Discovery
that
and
exploration.
curiosity.
Yes, that
Yeah,
wonderment. We lose it, and it's like, let us become more childlike in the
yeah,
sense of our exploration and
yeah,
discovery and excitement and joy in life,
absolutely.
because we seem to have forgotten that by being bogged down by all of these shoulds. And like, why? Why do I need 5,000 people to follow me? If I've got two or three people that are engaged with me, fantastic, right?
Yeah,
It's about the engagement. It's about the participation in your own life and in each other's lives. And
yes,
it's, if you watch something that is moving to you, who does it remind you of? What does it reminded within you? Has it
yeah,
inspired you to go and do something? That's what
yeah.
it's all about. I will say these shows are listen, learn, and apply.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? I mean, if you can get all the inspiration in the world, but if you don't take any action on it,
Yeah.
that's only going to take you so far. And that's why I say just do manageable things, because it's really about consistency.
Yes.
So it's, people think, oh, if I want to look like this or I want this, I have to work out hours every day. That's not the truth. But if you work out hours a day for a week and then you don't do it ever again, that's not going to create the result you want. It's better
But
that you
also,
do
why do you
20.
want that result? Is it
Right.
something you really want from the core of you, or is it because you think that other people will look at you differently?
Right. But it's better to do 20 minutes every day
Yes.
than spend 3 hours
Yeah.
and 3 hours and then never work
Yeah.
out again or hurt
And then
yourself
hate
or
it.
do.
Yes. And
But yeah,
abandon it.
and do
Yeah.
things you enjoy. Like I
Yes.
love going to yoga. I happen to like Pilates. I happen to like yoga. It makes me feel so good.
Hmm.
So I do those things. And then, and there's other things that you can do. But if you like dancing or you like
Yes.
running or whatever it is that you enjoy, start with that.
Yeah.
And people get into this again with the shoulds, or I
Yes.
have to do X amount of weight training. I have to do X. And yes, resistance training is very good for you and very valuable. And over time, especially as we age, we lose muscle. But better to do something you like
Yes.
and
Because you'll
start
do it
doing
more
that
often.
because you'll actually do it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, and yes, once you start with healthy behaviors, you can add more healthy behaviors.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be you eat lettuce and work out 3 hours a day or you do nothing. I mean, this
It's
is
not
just
about
silly.
denying, it's about enhancing, right?
Right.
It's
And it's
about
about,
changing your lifestyle to a point that is benefiting you, that gives you
yes.
more joy in life, not something that you're meant to suffer for. Because if you're suffering for it, you're doing the wrong thing,
Oh,
right?
you can enjoy quality food that tastes good
Yes.
and have it be healthy and simple food. It doesn't have
Hmm.
to be, you don't have to be a gourmet chef to make a
Right?
good salad with healthy things in it and have it taste good.
Yes, exactly.
And you can also add in, if it's somebody's birthday and there's a delicious cake, you can have a piece of cake and still have an overall healthy diet. It's this all or nothing thing that we do.
Mm,
Again, the pendulum swings too far this
yes.
way, too far this way. People are either binging or they're starving or
Hmm.
like, just find this place where you can eat healthy most of the time. You incorporate more fruits and vegetables and lean proteins, however it is you want to consume them. If you eat meat or you don't eat meat, eat nutritious foods, real food, And it doesn't need to be fat free or carb free or this or that. Mix of nutrition, focus on getting your
Yeah.
nutrition. And then, yes, you can have, the world is not going to end if you eat a cookie. Yes, you
No.
shouldn't. And no, does that mean you sit down and eat a box?
No.
No, but if you do,
Moderation, everything. I mean, also it's a
right.
great attitude. If you're eating something with anxiety and guilt, guaranteed your body's going to go, oh,
Bingo,
yeah, right.
bingo.
But if
There's
it's
been
like,
scientific studies on that.
absolutely,
There's been
absolutely. But
scientific
if you're
studies on
eating
that.
it with, I really enjoyed this, I'm grateful for it, I'm absolutely loving moderation, right,
Yeah,
and enjoying it, your body is going to go, that's fine. It's
right,
because we ate the wrong foods, a lot of preservatives, etc., and
right.
sugar. Oh my God, the amount
Yes,
of sugar and things and chemicals, which has changed the
yes,
chemistry of our body. But it
yes.
is, as you said, this all or nothing. I can't stop at one bar. I've got to go to another. And it's like,
Because
why?
that's
Because
you
that's
telling,
something else. Yeah, that's
yes,
something
when
else
you
in there.
tell yourself you're not allowed to
Yeah,
have
you want.
something, you want it more. Now, if you
Yes.
say to yourself, I want to be healthier and I'm choosing to eat healthy because I want to feel good, that is not taking away or the lack. And if
Yeah.
I want a piece of chocolate, I'll have a piece of chocolate.
Yes.
If you know you can do whatever you want and you're making the choice to eat healthier, it's a very different mentality than when you tell yourself, I can't have this or I'm not allowed to have it. I'm
Exactly.
making the choice to eat healthier because I want to feel good and I want to look good and I want to fit into my pants. And that feels good to me. I
Hmm.
like it. That's a choice you're making to feel good, to look your best, to be healthy. It's not about someone else's perception of you, and
Right.
it's not
Or
about
dictation of what you should
or
be. Right.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not that. It's about you making the choice for your own well-being, and that will change your life if you start thinking about things of who do I want to be? How do I see myself in my best self?
Yes.
And it's not being a size two,
Hmm.
if that's not naturally what your body should be.
Right.
It's not about starvation and it's not about binging. It's not about, oh, I found some supplement and I'm taking it 40 times. It's about finding this moderation of your body
Balance.
needs nutrition, it needs
Hmm.
micronutrients. You do need these simple foods and incorporating them and having a mix of them and a variety of them. And then if you want to go get a ice cream with someone, you want to have a cookie, you want to have a cake, you know, that's fine. If I go to a birthday party and there's an amazing cake, but also if it's not good, you don't have to eat it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like people just eat it and shove it in their face. It's just taste it and decide if you feel that that is really enjoyable for you.
Yeah,
And
I think one of there's a rhythm to life. Like there's an
yeah,
algorithm to everything out there. There's an algorithm of ourselves. What we put out is what we receive, right?
yeah,
And if we choose to live in a kind of a loving state of wonderment, exploration, and a joy of life, that is what we're going to receive back. And everything has a rhythm, it has a flow. When we get into that beautiful flow of life, we don't go to those extremes. It isn't about bottom high roller coaster. It's about this wonderful rhythm and flow. And when you're in that, you'll do things in moderation. You'll listen to your body of what it needs and what it doesn't need. You'll listen to your mind and your
yeah,
psyche when it says you need time out or you need to do this and that.
yeah,
You become more in tune. When you're more in tune with who you are,
yeah,
whatever you are presenting, whether it's in business or just as a person out there, remember, we're all our own business. That means we're presenting somebody that has self care, self awareness, self
yeah.
love. And that is the kind of person that you do want to do business with because you know that they have consideration for themselves, so they must have consideration for other people.
Well, also you're just when you are when you've taken care of yourself and you feel good, you will naturally be a happier person. You
Exactly.
will give more joy out.
Hmm.
You will be more empathetic. You will be better to be around for everyone and you're going to
Exactly.
attract more people to you. I
That wants
mean,
to be
I
around
have
you. Yes.
people want to be around you.
Mm.
And again, it's not about like I have friends from all over the world and we connect even though we have very different backgrounds,
Hmm.
very
Hmm.
different childhoods, and ultimately people connect because if you and I've had people walk up to me. I just came back from Dubai and I mean people from all over the world there. If someone would just come up to me, you have great energy, it's
Hmm.
like, oh, thank you, like just out of the blue, or like, oh my God, I had multiple people tell me I had great energy. And that's not about anything else other than
What you're
coming to
putting
this
out,
place.
what you're putting
Well,
out.
yes,
Yeah.
I like people. I
Yes.
like to hear stories. I like to speak with them. I'm fascinated by
Yes.
other people and their lives and their
Yeah.
stories. I've
Yes.
read a million biographies, and this
Yep.
is why I say it's like one thing that stood out to me is these people have biographies on them because they had something they've achieved written by other people, not by
Yes.
themselves.
Yes.
This is that they had touched people in some way,
Yeah.
whether in history, they were figures in
Mm.
history, or they were, icons in art, or actors or painters or whatever.
We're illuminators.
These were people who achieved some
Yeah.
level of greatness in what
Yes.
they did.
And
And
had
when
an
you look
impact.
at their right, and they had an impact, and they had people who were fascinated by
Yes.
them. And if you read them, they are not, everything is not this perfect
Nope.
straight line.
Nope.
Their lives are messy. I mean,
Yes.
even Albert Einstein, it was
Mm.
like, this brilliant person who's a scientist who had messy personal life, or,
Mm.
they fell in love, or they had an affair, or they did this, or they were devastated, their heart was broken, or they were abandoned as a child, or they were abused or neglected, or they weren't appreciated in their
Yeah.
lifetime,
Right.
and
And
whatever.
Nikola Tesla, look how brilliant he is, and we're using all his technology today, but he died of poverty.
Yeah, I mean,
Completely, and all he was way before his time, and like we
yes.
look at these people and we see the
Yeah,
achievement or the glory, but we don't
right.
understand the journey in getting there.
Marie
Let's
Curie. I
honor
mean,
the journey.
it's crazy. She was the first woman. She won a Nobel Peace Prize
Yeah.
and create all this stuff, and died from poisoning from, the work she was doing. She
Yes.
sacrificed her whole self without even realizing how
Mm.
toxic what they were doing. But, you know, people don't achieve
No.
whatever level. I'm not suggesting everyone has to
No.
be,
Everybody has a contribution. Doesn't
everybody
matter
has
what
a
it, the
contribution.
triangle in the orchestra or the soloist, right? Everybody has a
Right.
contribution.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it's really interesting because, a lot of times our society values things more than other things. But, when you had a pandemic, suddenly the heroes are the people working in the grocery store who go to work and make sure that we have food, and the
Mm.
people who are shipping, and people who are loading stuff. And so the point being, our society needs everyone.
Yeah.
Our society needs people. Not everyone is the doctor or the lawyer or the celebrity. Everybody says, "Oh, I want to be a celebrity," right? But we need everyone.
Yeah.
And the one thing the pandemic did is shine light on these necessary workers who really,
Yes.
we should not forget the
Our
value.
day-to-day survivor that we don't thrive
Exactly.
without them, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so everybody has a place in society.
Yes.
Everybody has value. And all these things, a business is a microcosm of society.
Hmm.
A movie set is a microcosm of society. Yes, there are people who are leaders of the project, but there are, you need someone who answers phone, you need someone who cleans the office, you need someone who throws out the trash, you need
Hmm.
someone who, gets the supplies. I mean,
Yes.
if you can't function in a business, if you go to print something out and there's no paper, you don't have a pen, you don't have your phone's not working, all these things. As a society, we need to remember we all serve a purpose, and we all need to
Yes.
treat each other with basic respect, and everybody has value. And you don't want to have a situation where these people are not there.
Yeah.
that
No.
we don't have that we don't have these people that are the foundation of our society. And and that's what I was really the good part. You have these tragedies in the world, and you hope that people learn lessons from them,
Mm.
and with
We have.
and whether or not we stick with these lessons, because
Yes.
we go, oh my God, nurses, thank you so much, and thank you so much to all the medical professionals and all the people who went in and served food, and people who were doing shipping and all this stuff. You realize how awful it is when you go into a grocery store and the shelves are empty.
Exactly. Hmm.
And we have to, as a society, keep that in mind and
Value
remember that
each other.
everybody.
Doesn't matter what level we're at. I always say that, when you walk into a building in a big CEO, and they own the building, and you're going up to the penthouse to see the CEO. But if you walk in and everything is sticky and dirty and tardy, what's your impression of the CEO? That janitor has set the stage, right?
Oh,
He set
trust
the
me.
stage of how you're going
Yeah,
to receive it. So
trust me. The
everybody
last
has a
thing
role.
you want, the last thing you want and there's been strikes of the people who are the collectors.
Hmm.
And if the last thing you want is a society where the garbage is not handled and
Exactly.
maintained
We've
and things
seen
are not
strikes
clean.
on that and what it does, right?
Oh
Yes.
my God. It's
Yes.
it, I yes, we have to remember that everybody serves a purpose. And when you go to a restaurant or when you go
Hmm.
anywhere, you need those people who do their jobs well.
Yes.
And it's a much nicer experience when you go in some place and somebody smiles at you and says hi and they do a good job,
And
right?
equally back at them. Don't just treat them as a
Yes.
server and not look up. Look at them. How are you doing today? Right? They could be having a bad day, but you just seeing
But be
them
grateful.
and
And you
saying, "How are
treat
you
them
doing
well.
today?"
Yes, but you
Exactly. What a
treat them
difference
well,
it
it will
makes.
make their day better. And it's just that
Absolutely.
thing when
And
you
it
hold the door
passes
for
on like a ripple effect.
you hold the door for somebody, you smile
Yeah.
at them, that evolves. Picking up someone's coffee or
Yeah.
something for them,
Yeah.
you have this pay it forward, and you hold the door for somebody versus, or you cut someone off in traffic and then they get mad and they do
Yeah.
something. It's
Everything
we
has a
have to,
ripple effect, so you want to have a
yeah,
good ripple. You want to make sure you're
yes.
passing on a good ripple.
Exactly. We forget as a society because we feel so separate
Yeah.
that we are, literally when there is a tsunami or a storm in Japan,
Mm.
their refuse washed up on the California coast.
Yes.
When we had fires here, it was felt in Canada, New
Well, we had
York,
the worst
with
fires
the
in
wind.
history. Yes.
Exactly. We had
Yeah.
terrible fires. So we forget that this planet is
Yeah.
really just one place and
Yes.
that we do have an effect, however small, on each other. And it does grow and it is impactful. And the more that we hate each other or
Mm.
give this negative um just assumption of people, give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to be taken advantage of,
Hmm.
but hold the door for somebody, give these minor kindnesses,
Yes.
smile at somebody, treat people with basic respect and kindness, and you know what, you will get it back. You will have a better day in
Tenfold.
return.
Tenfold back.
Everybody will have a better day.
Everyone will.
Literally everybody.
How much does it take? How much
Doesn't
does it
cost
cost you?
anything. It doesn't
Exactly.
cost
Just to
anything.
share and smile. Hi, how's the day today? Oh my God, it's raining again. It doesn't matter what you're saying. Thank God for the rain. It's going to fill our dams. And
Yeah.
maybe enough water for the fires. There's always something to look at it. Start a conversation. I don't know how many people I've met by commenting either on their shoes, their smile, the weather, the this and that.
Whatever.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it might be the only conversation that person has in a day, right? So,
Yeah.
get out of your own self-importance or your own ego or your own fear or your own
Yes.
insecurity and communicate. Communicate with each other. A smile, a touch, a comment, or something. You never know where it's going to go. You never know what it's going to lead to,
Yeah.
right? We've seen this time and time again, a star being discovered, where somebody's seen them and God, you be good at this, and then the ripple effect comes out, or somebody, does
Yeah.
something for someone. I've interviewed people who used to buy the homeless signs. He would give them money to buy it as a transaction rather than
Yeah.
a charity. He later on went on to have a complete exhibit of all of those signs and then do a documentary on it and
Yeah.
bringing awareness to the homeless. When he started this 20 years ago, it was just the dignity of buying something from someone. He
Yeah.
didn't know how big or how it was going to change people's lives. We can project sometimes where we think something is going to go, and we
Yeah.
can take those steps to lead it that way. Obviously, when you're making a movie, you've got the script, you've got the actors, you've got everybody else,
Yeah.
everybody in play to
And
produce
there's
it.
still magic accidents that
Exactly,
happen and things
exactly.
that
But it's
happen.
it's how everybody comes together in that synergy of what the performance truly ends up like, right? So just
And
be
I
willing
actually
to
am
take
very
that role.
careful, to be honest, about who I bring in. I mean,
Mm,
even if somebody's very talented, if I have heard and get the sense that they
mm,
really are unpleasant to be
yeah,
around, or if they're not respectful of the others,
yeah.
I choose
It,
not to work with
it's
them.
a
There's a lot
toxic
of
environment,
talented
right?
people. Yeah,
Mm,
because it really is such an intimate space, and it can really hurt the project as a
yes.
whole. If it's really a cancer into the project
Mm,
or affects the whole crew, it will affect everyone, and it's just not worth it to me.
yep.
It's not worth it to me. I mean, I need to have everybody in there doing their best work and feeling good and appreciated. And if somebody has an issue, I listen to them. I try to protect, the other people, saying, come to me if you have an issue. Let's sit down and work it out. Let's figure out what's necessary. And the people who, the director needs to focus on the shot. They need to do what
Yes.
they need to do. And I'm here to kind of solve whatever's
Conduct. You're the
necessary.
conductor.
And so, yeah,
Yeah.
and I understand my place, and I appreciate what everybody brings to the table. And I've had situations where somebody who has a smaller role doesn't show up or doesn't
Mm.
finish their job, and it literally affects
Yes.
the whole
Yes.
project. And it can cause major delays. It can cost thousands of dollars. It can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's a big deal
We
when
don't want
things
the
don't
prima
run.
donnas anymore. It's like this
No,
is
if
a
you're not
job.
going to come out of your trailer for hours, that's
Exactly.
going to cost me a lot of money. And I'm sorry,
Exactly.
but I would
We
rather
don't need
work with
those kind
someone
of
else.
egos or those prima donnas. It's like you've been
No,
hired for a job.
do it.
Don't get so ahead of yourself. We see some of the top people in the world being humble and have humility because they know that uh, it is because of the jobs they've had, because of the support and the adulation they've had from other people, that they have the success that they have. So it's always remembering those roots,
And the
right?
irony is, a lot of the big people are really, more humble, or
Mm.
more easy to work with, or have a good time. Then you'll be surprised. Sometimes you have an extra who has, like, or somebody who has, like, one line who causes you more
A whole lot of
problems, and
grief.
you're just like, why are you? Yeah, they need to feel like a big shot or something, and they will complain or do something, and you're like, just, it's surprising sometimes. It's
Yeah.
the person who needs to feel like they have, that they're a big shot, and the people who already know they are don't need to prove it. Um,
And that
Quite
person is
often that
only as
happens.
good on screen as the director, as the lighting, as the sound, as all the other
And
people
they know
underneath
that.
that. Right,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
It's not all about them. They get the adulation and the rewards, but without everybody else,
Yes.
doing what they're doing, they're not even going to get recognized. So it's an everybody. It's a teamwork, and everybody needs to work together with synergy.
Oh, it is.
There
It
is.
truly is. I mean, it truly is, these projects. I mean, that's why those credits need everyone to step up and do their job well, to get a quality
Yeah.
project. And it is really about managing a team and making sure that everyone feels, honestly, that they are valued, and you
Yes.
appreciate them and consider them, and work
And they
with
take
them and give
pride
them
in
the
the
tools to
project.
be their
They
best
take
version.
pride in being a part of
That's a huge
something,
part of it.
right? When they've got
Yeah.
pride of
And
something,
you want them to.
yes,
You want them
yes,
to.
I enjoyed that project. I take pride in what's going out there.
I
I
want them
was a
to feel
part of that.
ownership.
Yes,
I
yes,
Yes, absolutely. And I want them to feel ownership over it, because
yeah,
then they feel like, this is my work too. And it is
yes,
their work too. It
yes,
is their work.
yes.
And I am not a lighting expert. I am
Hmm.
not the editing expert. I absolutely need every single one of these people to do their job in an amazing way.
Yeah.
And that's
And
the fact.
working cohesively together. And if you create that cohesive environment where everybody feels valued for who they are and what they're contributing, then everybody's supportive of each other. They
Yeah.
want the lighting to be good, the sound to be good, the this to be good, because then that represents their work. So if everybody's stepping up to the plate and everybody's putting their best foot forward, then
Yeah.
it's something they can look at and go, how many actors have you said, I don't want to talk about that movie? Because there's always one that they've done. God, I wish I hadn't, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
you want people to be able to say, I'm proud to say I was a part of that, right?
Yes.
That's important because A, it's got good vibes. B, they're there, the picket fence that are putting it out there. But that also means that next time you've got a project, they're going to go, I'd love to be back again. I love the environment. If they love the
Yes.
environment, then they're going to be put everything into it because they loved working there. And that's important. It's creating the right
Absolutely.
environment, isn't it?
Yes, and no matter what project, you want to have those kinds of people around.
Yeah.
And that's, and it's the same in a personal relationship, right? I mean, you have a friend. Do you want to have a friend who you enjoy being around, who lifts
Yes.
you up, who listens to you, and you listen to them, and you have a good give and take, and you support each other? Or do you want someone who every time you call, they just complain, they never listen to you, they talk over you, you don't enjoy I mean, you're not going to want to spend time with that
No.
person.
They pull you
So,
down and you can feel it. You feel weighted afterwards. And it's like, why? Why am I with that person? Yeah.
yeah, even if they don't actually put you down, but they don't give you the support or they
Yeah.
just look down on something you're excited about or that's not
Mm.
going to happen or whatever, um, you're not going to want to be around that person.
No.
So, again, it's like, because people always say, well, how do you act in business and how do you act in personal? I'm like, this is how I treat everything
Yes.
in my life. Because the more that I am genuine and whole in myself and I can be there and be the actual human being I am and bring that with me everywhere, and I will work, yes, of course, what I'm focusing on during business hours and a project is going to be more specifically tailored and I'm going to have, just but you can enjoy doing these projects if they're things that you like and you can bring that joy and still have some humor and some joy while you're
Exactly.
getting the work done. But you can also you know, bring that responsibility to your personal relationship. So yes, you can
Mm.
have fun with your friends and things, but you can also have that personal responsibility with them where if they are part of your life, you show up for them and you
Exactly. Good
do what
or
you
bad. Good
say.
or bad, right?
And you do
Mm.
what you say.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we had a storm, and I had promised a friend last night I was going to go see a show. It was her birthday. She was doing this comedy show for a benefit, and I promised I would go. The weather was terrible. I had a long day at work. I really probably would have stayed home otherwise. I made a promise I would go, and it was safe to go. It was just, still a little rain, but it wasn't as bad. And I was like, okay, let me go get dressed and do this and get over there. And it was raining and there was no parking in the place, but I promised I would go. And so I made that happen.
Yeah.
And I would want her to do that for me. And I
Yes.
would want people to do that for me. And sometimes it may not be convenient or you might,
Yeah.
and there's, the balance there. Like, but just, if I promise that I'm going to do something and I
Respect.
know it's
Mm.
important to them.
Yes.
I mean, look, sometimes you're sick, you can't do
Yeah.
something, whatever, I get it. But if they know that you show up when you say, if that
Yes.
time you can't, look, if you get COVID, but again, nothing is 100% in this world.
Right.
But if they know you're reliable and you show up and you do what you say, you will have better relationships and you will have better relationships in your work life. So, I always laugh at this because everyone wants me to compartmentalize, but ultimately wherever you go, there you are. And
Exactly.
the
Mm.
and the I know people say, oh, how you do something is how you do everything, and I don't know if that's 100% true, but I do know that if I am happy with myself and I acknowledge my strengths, my weaknesses, my lessons, my mistakes, the more that I get out of my own way
Hmm.
and just acknowledge my humanity and acknowledge everyone else's humanity and just give kindness and believe in being high functioning and doing what I say and being excellent at what I do and bringing in other people who are have expertise in what
Hmm.
they do. I mean, the sky is the limit. The sky
Exactly.
is the limit. And for all of us, I mean, we can
Yeah.
all support each other. We can all do great work. We can all help each other and good things will come
Who
from
would
it.
want to be the only size that fits all? God, what a burden, right? It is having all those. You go into a candy shop, you're not going to eat every single candy there. Today
Yeah.
you may travel, you get to this one, and you have your favorites, but it's
Yeah.
always knowing that consistency of that candy. You're not meant to
No,
go in and eat the whole
that's
thing,
part
right?
of growing up is
Uh-huh.
learning, like when you're a kid, you want everyone to like you and you
Mm.
want everybody to think you're amazing and think ever. And ultimately the irony is the more comfortable you are with yourself and the more true you are to yourself, the more people will positively respond to you.
Yeah.
But even then, there are a lot of people who aren't happy with themselves, and if
Hmm.
they see that you're happy, they aren't happy for you and they're not going
Yikes.
to be happy for you.
And
And
that's not on you. That's on
that's
them. Don't
not
take it
on
personally.
you.
Yeah,
And you
that's yeah.
don't have to, well, that's it. You don't take things personally because most things are not about you.
Yes.
And that's why I say removing the ego is so
Mm.
important when it comes to these things and focusing on the result you want because it isn't about me. If somebody's miserable in their own life, or maybe they're going through a difficult time, or maybe
Yes.
they have a tragedy, or maybe they lost their parent, or they were abandoned, or whatever, and they're bringing all their stuff to
Hmm.
the table. That's not about me. And
No.
they might be frustrated or angry about something that didn't go their way. And that's fine. They have their moment. Nobody's perfect, but
Exactly.
if I can hold my own and respond appropriately and not get defensive or upset with them if I don't take it personally. And
Exactly.
not everybody is going to be a perfect fit with me, and that's
No.
okay. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah. Because you don't want that anyway. You want people where you can see the gelling together, right? The
Yeah.
fit and the gelling together, because that's the important thing. So
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you produce these wonderful movies and you're a great fundraiser and you're doing all this work. But in helping people kind of prepare for a presentation, what is your process and how do people reach you?
Well, they can reach me first. I have a website which I've honestly strictly set up to interact with people in this situation so that we can communicate because I have been referral only and I never actually really were putting out services.
Right.
But I've had just so many people coming to me and having such good success with just learning this process of how to develop their own style
Hmm.
because quite often people have their style and they sort of impose that on others to say
Yes.
like because this works for me, here's how you should do what
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
But what I really believe is developing your best version of
Mm.
yourself so that you can be you at your best. The way I do something may not be the
Yeah.
way that you need to present yourself and your skills and your expertise. So, what I help people do is really get to the place where they are fully themselves and can show that in the
Hmm.
best light and get the best results. So, I have the website is just my name, Lainie, Lainie, Strouse, Strouse.com. There's a few projects there, but there's a contact area where they can reach out to me. And for your viewers, I was open to giving a free, 15 or 20 minute
Excellent.
consultation if they're coming from you for your viewers and your followers, so that they can kind of see how it could benefit them.
Hmm. And that's wonderful because, again, you want to know you've heard her, you're inspired by her, but it's only the conversation you have with her is whether you find out whether there's a fit or not, right? So having
Right,
that,
right,
it's you're going to know in that 20 minutes, yes, I get you, you get me, I want to go further, or
right.
okay, no, I respect you, but it's not quite what I'm looking for. And that's okay,
Exactly.
right?
And
It's
that's
yeah.
okay.
Mm.
That is the biggest lesson I think that we have to
Yeah.
learn, that it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you or even the other person. And again, even in personal relationships, there are times when you just realize you want different things or you're not gelling. And it's
Yeah.
okay to say, I wish you well on your journey.
Exactly.
We don't
Yeah.
have to hate someone just
No.
because they're
No.
not right for
No,
us,
somebody likes
blame them
oranges,
or
somebody likes apples. You're going to hate them because they like the other fruit? Get over yourself.
right. But it gets when emotions are involved, it's difficult for people. But if you get to your honest self, you
Yes,
can say, I can see that we're just not aligned in what we
right.
want, or maybe it's timing or whatever it is. But it's better to know now and send each other happily on each
Yes.
other's way and accept.
Yep,
And maybe it will come back to you. And
exactly. That's
maybe
the thing is
somebody
that
else who's a better fit will come into your
exactly. I mean, when somebody's inspired by you, but it's not a fit for them, they're going to meet somebody. Oh, you need to speak to Lainey. Yeah,
life.
she's right up your street. And that's the thing is, referral, as you said, everything has been referral to you so far. Referral is such a compliment because it's somebody that believes in you and believes what you're doing and wants to refer
Yeah.
you out. And that is such a compliment and much better than any form of advertising because it's coming from people who've experienced you. So whether
Yeah.
somebody does align with you or not, and it's just not for them or what you're doing right now, but they
Yeah.
refer you, or people have experienced what you do and refer you, that's always the better way to go anyway. I much prefer that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was honestly booked. So
Mm,
we did have a strike this past year.
yes.
So because I had some of my projects were delayed, I had people coming to me with different types of needs.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um it was just interesting. It was a natural development. It wasn't something where I said, "Oh, I'm going to develop this process." Even for a script, I use it and I can literally find out where the holes are without reading the script just by asking them these key questions.
Yeah.
and I can do that with a presentation. I can ask them because I know what they're going to ask you. I've been on both sides of that aisle, and I work with people who fund every type of project you can think of, from tech to startups
Mhm.
to healthcare to scripts to, and I present them with things all the time. So I understand the process. And so I can really say, what about this? And then they go, I go, that's something you need to know and be able to answer. And
Right.
here's how we can develop a proper answer
Mhm.
for you to be able to handle these things. And if someone throws you a curveball, here's how you handle it. And here's
Exactly.
how we're going to prepare you for that. Um, so yeah, it's really helps.
It's having a passion, but willing to learn, willing to work with other
Yeah,
people. Don't come with like, no, I want to do it this way, this way. Well, then go and do it. But if you're coming to Lainie, you're coming because of all those holes that you have there that you don't know you need or
yeah.
that you
And
don't
you
know
may
you're
not even
prepared for.
know. You may
Exactly.
not even know what it is.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so through that discovery, we figure out what are the things that you need and how can we work together to get you where you need to go. And
Right.
I never dictate to anyone. I don't judge you. This is not about me saying, "Oh, I know more than you." It's
Yeah.
about we often need another person
To reflect.
to
Yeah. To
to
bounce off.
reflect back and to
Mm.
work together with. And
Yes.
almost every coach I know, people who are super huge names, have coaches themselves,
Exactly.
and therapists have therapists. And
Mm.
we are not alone in this. And
No.
just having another person who has different sets of experiences than us, we can work together to fill that for you and help you be more successful. And again, it's not about me going, "Oh, I know more than you." I know certain things, you know certain things. We can come together with our joint knowledge and really help you to elevate whatever you're trying to get done, and help you to be your best self and have the most success that you can.
Yeah. And that's what it's about. It's being behind people to have that success because the more people have that personal success in their lives, the more they elevate up into that, higher frequency, and the
Yeah,
more they become part of that wonderful vibration that we need in this world. So it is about people's success. It isn't
yeah,
pitching people against each other. Like, we always do the shows a week beforehand. So we had the Grammys last night, and it's
yeah.
people supporting other people, but they may not have won. It wasn't their time, right? But then being behind somebody who has won, good for you. You got there, and
Well, and
that's the
here's the
important thing.
thing. You are all identified as the best in your craft. And
Yes.
when it comes to art, it's very difficult
Yeah.
because each one is so different to
Yeah.
say this one is better than the other. So this one just got maybe more votes of the
Right.
people who voted, but that really doesn't mean,
That anybody else was less.
well, yeah, there's
Yeah.
millions of other people out there who
Yeah.
like this type of music better than that, or this particular song better than that. And if you notice, most of the awards were distributed amongst a larger group of people than one person sweeping across.
Yes.
And that's because
Yes.
people said, "Oh, I want to honor all these people, but we'll give this one, we'll give this one,"
Yeah.
and they distributed it because they were all excellent in their
Mm.
field.
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
may pop music or not like country music, but there's a huge fan base for that. And so, just to the point that you said, not everything's for everybody.
Yes.
And you can be excellent and do very well with a very small portion of the population. I mean, if you
Exactly.
there's 40 million people just in California
Hmm.
alone, just in the state of California.
That's what we have
So,
in Canada, or maybe
yeah,
41 million. Yeah.
we actually surpassed France as the fourth largest economy in the world now.
Wow.
So,
Hmm.
California in and of itself is bigger than most countries.
Hmm.
So, if you even had 1% of the
Yeah,
population of
exactly.
California support you, I mean, and that's you would be super successful and wealthy. You don't need everyone.
No.
For
Yeah,
me, one good client is more valuable to me than anything else.
I
Like I,
agree.
I keep people and I have it, and it adds value to my life and to their life, and we can do great things together.
Exactly. That's what it's
So,
all about, right? Thank you so much for sharing here today. We've gone over 2 hours because we had so much to talk about and so much to cover. And I'm thank you for giving your time here. But we've got to know our why. Why do we want to do what we want to do? Is it because other people are expecting it, or is it because something that's a driving force within ourselves? And we need to kind of know who we are, why we are, what we are, and embrace ourselves so that we can bring that to anything else that we want to do in life, right? Because that's what people are looking for. You may be good at it, but what we want to know is, are you passionate about it? Is this an extension of you? And that's really important, that we become ourselves, so whatever we're presenting in that true authenticity of self.
Yeah, and honestly, it could be the simplest things in life, but the more that you appreciate all these elements that make
Yeah,
up a basically good life, then you have that foundation to go out and do all these other things. And I
exactly.
understand that there's large chunks of this planet where people are doing many things that they just don't want to do.
Hmm.
So I just say to everyone, just take stock.
Yeah.
Look at your life. Look at your path. What can you do each day that will make because slight improvements over a long period of time have big
Hmm.
impact.
They add
Big
up and they
impact.
add up. Hmm.
They really do.
Yeah.
They really do. And I can almost guarantee that everybody has 5 minutes for themselves.
Mm.
5 minutes. And then
And
it
if you
grows to
don't,
10
it's time
minutes.
for you to find that 5 minutes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you can, and
Yes.
it's about prioritizing yourself and your
Hmm.
well-being, and and
But that's
finding
also another
those
reflection.
things.
If you're not managing yourself in your time, how can you manage a project?
Right.
Right. So that's really
True.
important, right? So it's knowing that management of self and bringing that management to everything else that you do, which is important. So it's
Yeah.
LainieStrauss.com, folks. If you want to reach out to us, she give you 20 minutes conversation to find out if you're a fit. And just, this has been a big show today, and we've covered a great deal. I invite you to actually gather a few friends together, have a podcast, book club, podcast club, and then both of you write, all of you write down kind of what you got out of it, and then share that. Because that's really where it's about. It's about, I got this and you got that and you got that. And now you're seeing a whole picture, which is wonderful. But of these conversations, with the amount that we've shared here today, it's a lot to digest on the first time round. So don't forget to listen to it again, take note, but also share it. It's wonderful to actually share the podcast with someone and then discuss it afterwards, because it's just so illuminating what other people saw that you didn't see, that now you see. It's exciting. So share, re-listen, take notes, and remember, listen, learn, and apply, because there's always something here that you've learned that you can apply to your own life to make it better. So thank you, Lainie, and to everyone else out there, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tab at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.